My childhood sweetheart advised me to play it safe in my past life. Jin Wuyang persuaded me to aim lower. He said my timid nature and poor family background would make me vulnerable in another province, so I changed my first choice from Capital University to a local teacher's college. Later I found out he had secretly changed his destination to Beijing. His friends mocked me in the group chat. She actually believed it. Finally, brother Jin doesn't have to drag that deadweight around anymore. Life in the provincial capital was rough for me. After graduation, I returned to teach in a small county town while Jin Wuyang became a partner at a Beijing law firm. At the class reunion, he poured me tea. Honestly, staying in the province wouldn't have been a bad choice for you back then. Big cities were never your scene to begin with. When I opened my eyes again, it was college application day. Jin Wuyang slid a college preference form across to me. Trust me, play it safe. I raised my eyes and let out a cold laugh. The classroom fan spun lazily. The late June heat pressed against the window panes as a draft lifted the corner of the college preference form on the desk, then let it settle back by Jin Wuyang's hand. His handwriting is very nice. Provincial Normal University was neatly written at the top of his list. Capital University was crossed off the list. The black pen made 2 light strokes, just enough pressure to smother those 4 words. I sat across from him, my fingers gripping the plastic pen cap until my fingertips throbbed with numbness. Jin Wuyang slid the draft spreadsheet toward me. Zhaoying, listen to me, keep it steady. His voice was low and slow, as if he were helping me break down a difficult problem. He said the exact same thing in my past life. My hands were still trembling right after checking my scores. No one in class expected my stellar performance. Even our homeroom teacher froze for a moment before pulling up past admission rankings and pointing at Capital University's cutoff line, saying I should aim for it. When I shared the news with Jin Wuyang, his reaction wasn't as joyful as I'd imagined. He fell silent at first, then took my transcript and studied it for a long time. Your scores are good enough, but you need to think this through. He said the capital was too far away and the cost of living there was too high. That with my quiet personality, I'd easily get overshadowed in a place like that. They said my family couldn't afford setbacks if I couldn't keep up. I took every word to heart. In the end, I changed my first choice application to a local teacher's college myself. That night, Jin Wuyang ruffled my hair. This suits you better. Later, the admission letters arrived. I went to the provincial capital, while he headed to the capital city. Eventually, his friend's chat logs got leaked. She actually bought it. Bro Jin's got this. Finally don't have to drag that deadweight to Beijing. She'd be a perfect fit for the provincial normal school. Graduating and returning to teach in the county would be just right. By then, I had already been struggling in the provincial capital for more than half a year. My roommate thinks I'm uncool. I got rejected from club interviews, and my part-time paycheck got delayed. Every night I'd sit in the dorm hallway memorizing textbooks, occasionally seeing Jin Wuyang's photos from Beijing flash across my phone screen. There he stood at the law school gates, surrounded by all these polished people. Meanwhile in the provincial capital, I learned to lower my voice, buy the cheapest meals, and just smile when people mentioned my small-town roots. After graduation, I returned to teach in a small county town. Jin Wuyang pursued graduate studies, internships, and eventually joined a law firm. By the time of our class reunion, he'd already become a partner at a Beijing law firm. He poured tea for me, placing the cup within my reach, his tone still impeccably courteous. Honestly, staying in the province would have been just fine for you. Big cities were never really your scene anyway. Watching his wristwatch, it suddenly reminded me of that day in senior year, how calmly he'd crossed out Capital University with a black pen. Someone called out from the classroom doorway, "Bro Jin, you coming or what? The whole group's waiting on you." I snapped out of it. Jin Wuyang's hand still hovered over the draft spreadsheet. He wore a crisp white t-shirt, his youthful features far less weathered than they'd be years later, yet already carrying that quiet air of someone accustomed to steering others' decisions. I lowered my gaze to the draft form, staring at the crossed-out Capital University. "I'll think about it." Jin Wuyang smiled. "You're hesitating again." He pulled a red pen from the pencil case and circled the Provincial Normal University. "Zhaoying, I'm on your side. Others only care about scores. I care about how you'll spend the next 4 years." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Places like the capital, no one's going to cut you any slack there." I looked up at him. "Didn't you also want to apply to Beijing?" Jin Wuyang's hand holding the pen paused. "Just briefly." My past self probably wouldn't have noticed. He soon smiled. "My situation is different." "What's the difference?" He looked at me with a hint of resignation. "I handle stress better than you. Don't be mad. Just calling it like I see it." That line sounds familiar. In our past life, he'd often call it like he saw it. I'm timid, I'm broke, I'm not cut out for competition, I lack the family backing. My Beijing peers have. Every word sounded like it was said for my benefit. In the end, it all came down to pressuring me. I picked up that draft form, folded it, and put it in my bag. I'll go ask Teacher Zhu. A barely perceptible frown creased Jean Wuyang's brow. Didn't we just settle this? I zipped up my backpack. For something this important, getting a second opinion never hurts. He stared at me for a few seconds before suddenly bursting into laughter. Fine, ask away, the guy outside yelled again. Jean, hurry up, old gal's treating us to bubble tea. Jean Wuyang stood up and murmured as he passed by me. Zhaoying, don't let teachers' praise go to your head, life's what you make it. Teachers won't pay your living expenses. I nodded. I didn't argue, nor did I tell him I'd heard all this before too. Mr. Zhu's office is at the far end of the third floor. She was sitting in front of the computer checking past admission scores, with a pile of college application materials stacked on the desk. She looked up at me when I knocked and entered. Lin Zhaoying, perfect timing, I was just looking for you. I handed over the draft form. Teacher Zhu flipped it open, and after just one glance, her brows furrowed. Who wrote this for you? I didn't mention Jean Wuyang's name. A classmate helped me take a look. Teacher Zhu tapped the red circle. Provincial normal universities are too low. With your ranking, you should aim for Beijing University, at the very least. You should apply to Beijing University of Political Science and Law and a few schools in East China. Don't waste your first-choice application. She spoke rapidly, with a chalk dust sharpness to her words. In my past life, I never came to ask her. Jean Wuyang claimed teachers only push students to aim higher, never caring how hard their lives might become. I believed him. Sitting here now, I realized Professor Zhu had already anticipated my difficulties. She pulled out several printed sheets from her folder. Here's Capital University's financial aid policy, the Green Channel program, and on-campus work-study positions. I know a bit about your family situation. We can help cover some of the expenses. I clutched those papers, feeling warmth slowly spread through my fingertips. What about living expenses? Teacher Zhu looked at me, his tone softening. Zhaoying, being poor isn't a reason to underreport. You need to calculate carefully, but don't cut off your options before you even start. She took out a pen and jotted down a few school names on the back of the draft form. Go home tonight and look it up yourself. Don't just take your classmates' word for it. No matter how smart others are, they can't live these 4 years for you. I nodded. Professor, I'd like to change my account password. Professor Zhu paused for a moment, then immediately understood. Do it now. She handed the computer over to me. I logged into the volunteer system, changed the password, and linked my phone number. After successful submission, Teacher Zhu said, send me a screenshot, I'll archive it for you. I did as told. She reminded me again, better record your final submission, not against anyone, just system glitches or accidents. I looked at her. Thanks, Teacher Zhu waved her hand. No need for thanks, just treat me to bubble tea when you get accepted. I chuckled. Deal. As I stepped out of the office, the end of the hallway was brightly lit. The sound of boys playing ball drifted up from the playground downstairs. I leaned against the railing, took a photo of the funding policy, and saved it in a newly created folder. The folder is named Capital City. Before long, Jean Wuyang sent a message. What does Teacher Zhu say? I replied, let me check again. He quickly sent over a long message. She's definitely pushing you to aim high. Teachers love when students set ambitious targets. It makes the stats look good, but you need to consider whether you can actually handle it. The cost of living in the capital is no joke, and you can't rely on part-time gigs forever. I took a screenshot to save it. He texted again. The provincial normal college is actually a solid fit for you. You'd get a guaranteed teaching position after graduation, and it's close enough to commute from our hometown. I continued taking screenshots. Jean Wuyang probably thought I was wavering, so he added another remark. I don't mean to discourage you. I'm just worried you might get taken advantage of in the capital. I've been staring at this sentence for a long time. In my previous life, I was trapped by the fear of what if you get bullied. Later, I got mocked for my accent in the provincial capital, had parents yell in my face in that small-town county, and was told by him at the reunion that I didn't belong in big cities. At those times, he wasn't afraid that I'd be bullied. He's only afraid I'll come within his sight. I sat at home all evening, researching on my old computer through the night. Capital University scholarships, student loans, housing subsidies, and library work-study positions. I copied them down one by one. It was almost 10 when my aunt called. She started by asking, I heard you're applying to Beijing. I rubbed my eyes, still watching. Auntie made a soft tisk sound. don't buy into the teacher's empty promises. With your parents away, who's got your back? A local teaching college is perfect. Graduate and come home to teach, a girl should play it safe. I put the call on speaker and kept reviewing the documents. When she saw I wasn't engaging, her tone sharpened. Don't be so ambitious like others. I heard the boy from the Jean family is planning to apply to a school in Beijing. He's a boy and quite smart. You're not like him. I stopped the mouse. Auntie probably didn't come up with this herself in my past life. Jean Wuyang also loved using other people's words to pressure me. Relatives call it being realistic. Neighbors say play it safe. He dismissed the teachers' encouragement as reckless. In the end, all these voices merged, making Capital University feel like a dream I shouldn't have dreamed. I asked, Auntie, did Jean Wuyang tell you that? There was a pause on the other end of the line. He meant well. Said you've been getting a bit carried away lately and asked me to talk some sense into you. I let out a soft chuckle. Got it. After hanging up, I saved this call recording to the folder as well. The next morning, Jean Wuyang was waiting for me at the school gate. He was carrying a bag of soy milk and fried dough sticks. You haven't had breakfast, have you? I've already eaten. He glanced at me and handed the bag to a classmate passing by. Did you stay up late researching last night? I looked up. How did you know? He chuckled. Just a hunch. You always overthink when things go wrong. I didn't respond. He walked alongside me toward the classroom building. Did your aunt talk to you about it too? I looked at the steps ahead. Are you looking for her? I just asked her to help you be more realistic. His tone was natural. Zhaoying, if your family won't plan for you, who will? If I don't look out for you, who will? I came to a halt. Jean Wuyang stopped too. I looked at him. What about your own aspirations? He said. Not decided yet. Underreporting too. His smile faded slightly. Mind your own business, then mind your own business about my affairs. His expression finally shifted when those words landed. Passing classmates turned to glance at us. Jean Wuyang lowered his voice. Lin Zhaoying, you've been really sharp with your words lately. The corners of my lips twitched slightly, probably just stressed. I walked past him without turning back. The day before the submission deadline, I went to the computer lab alone. Teacher Zhu sat beside me, checking the university codes one last time for me. First choice, Capital University. Second choice, Beijing University of Political Science and Law. The third choice was that comprehensive university in East China. I take a screenshot after filling out each item. Mr. Zhu chuckled when he saw how stiff my fingers were. Take it easy, it's not like signing your life away. I chuckled too, afraid of making mistakes. Fear keeps you sharp, no shame in caution. What matters is pushing through. I turned on screen recording before submitting, captured everything, from account page to preference confirmation, from phone verification to final submission. When submission successful popped up, I stared at those words with misty eyes. Teacher Zhu gave me a reassuring pat on the shoulder. We're good. I sent the screen recording to her and forwarded it to my own email. Jean Wuyang's call came through the moment I stepped out of the server room. Did you submit it? The news spread like wildfire. I stood at the top of the stairs. There was a half-second silence on the other end of the line. Which university did you apply to? Capital University. Jean Wuyang's voice noticeably darkened. Why are you being so reckless? I've done my research. Will research solve everything? The living costs, housing prices, and social gaps you'll face in the capital are real. Zhaoying, you can't just chase prestigious school names. I gazed at the playground outside the window. Teacher Zhu has reviewed it too. He took a quiet breath. Now you only listen to your teacher, not me. Volunteering is my choice. The moment the words left my mouth, the other end of the line fell completely silent. After a long silence, he murmured, You'll change. I remained silent. He continued, in the capital, you'll be surrounded by privileged people with worldly experience. Soon you'll find us old classmates embarrassing. In my past life, he'd replaced his entire social circle shortly after moving to the capital. Someone asked about us in the class group chat, and his friend posted that screenshot. What did he say? He didn't stop it. Or maybe he also thinks I'm dead weight. I whispered, Jean Wuyang, you're going to the capital too. He fell silent again. I hung up the phone. The group chat buzzed with activity that afternoon. When people heard I applied to Capital University, they started teasing me. Lin Zhaoying's got guts. Your scores are decent, but the competition at Capital U is brutal. Bro Jean, aren't you gonna talk her out of it? After a while, Jean Wuyang replied she made her own decision. Literally nothing wrong with it, but I could tell he was upset. Gao Lin quickly slid into my DMs. He was Jean Wuyang's favorite basketball buddy, notorious throughout our class for his trash talking. Lin, seriously applying to Beijing universities. I left him on read. He's at it again. Even brother Gene says you're not cut out for city life, yet you're so stubborn. Don't come crying to brother Gene when things go south. Screenshot taken, blocked, within half an hour. Our mutual classmate Tian Xiao sent me a screenshot. Take a look at this. It was a screenshot from their private group chat. Gao Lin, wanna bet, Lin Jiaoying will totally panic in the end. Zhou Xiang, she's all tough talk now, but the moment she gets that acceptance letter, she'll be running to brother Gene for advice. Gao Lin used to swallow brother Jin's words hook, line, and sinker. This sudden independent woman act is refreshingly unexpected. Zhou Xiang, so the deadweight's upgrading to Beijing brand deadweight, followed by a face with tears of joy emoji. I looked down. Jing Wuyang sent a message. Watch your mouth, Gao Lin. Alright, won't mention your little shadow anymore. Jin Wuyang never replied again. I saved the screenshot. Tian Xiao sent another message. It made me uncomfortable, so I forwarded it to you. Don't tell anyone it came from me, I replied. Thanks. She sent a head patting emoji. In my past life, those complete chat logs didn't surface until much later. By the time I saw them, I was already trapped in the provincial capital. My hands trembled with rage, yet even voicing my anger felt absurd. Even now, seeing these words still makes my heart ache. After the pain subsided, a strange calm settled in. Some people aren't worth rushing over to ask why. I've heard their answers my whole life. On the day the acceptance letter arrived, Mr. Zhu cheered louder than I did in the office. Lin Jiaoying, Capital University. I stood before the computer, staring at the admissions page, my fingers lightly pressing against the edge of the desk. Capital University. I actually got in. Professor Zhu took 2 candies from the drawer and shoved them into my hand. Consider this candy an IOU for the bubble tea you owe me. I took it with a smile. The news quickly spread back to our small town. My aunt was the first to call. So you really got in, hom. There was a brief silence on her end before she added, alright then, just don't go spending recklessly once you're in the capital. Her tone lost the confidence and assertiveness it had before. I'm in. That evening, Jin Wuyang came to see me. He was also admitted to a law school in Beijing. Not bad, just not his top choice. He stood downstairs, holding 2 bottles of drinks in his hands. Congratulations. I didn't go downstairs, just stood on the 2nd floor landing. Congratulations to you too. Jin Wuyang looked up at me. When we get to Beijing, we could live in the same neighborhood. I've found some affordable places. If you don't want to stay in the dorms, I'll help you check them out, I said. I'm applying for campus housing. Dorms are too crowded. You wouldn't adjust well. I can handle it. His lips pressed into a thin line. Do you have to contradict me on everything now? The hallway light was dim. I couldn't make out the look in his eyes, only the crumpled shape of the drink bottle in his grip. I'm just following my own plan. He gave a small smile. Got it, you handle it. He placed the drink at the top of the stairs and walked away. I didn't go get it, for on the day I left for Beijing to report in, I boarded the train alone, dragging my suitcase behind me. My aunt saw me off at the station, chattering all the way, don't push yourself too hard over there. Call home if anything comes up. People from small towns like us always take some knocks when adjusting to a place like the capital. I nodded. Jin Wuyang didn't show up. He sent a message. I'll be arriving in Beijing the day after tomorrow. Let me know when you get to school safely. I didn't reply. As the train pulled into the station, a gust of wind blew in from the far end of the tracks, clutching my acceptance letter. I moved forward with the crowd. Capital University was even bigger than I'd imagined. The campus gates were packed with freshmen and their parents. Some carried designer luggage while others posed for photos with their families. Dragging my worn-out suitcase, I found the special assistance lane and submitted my documents. The senior student in charge of reception glanced at my form and smiled, saying, for the student loan, go register at the work-study desk over there. Don't rush. Take it one step at a time. She talks fast and works even faster. A process sheet was handed to me. I followed the arrows above, walking from one end of the hall to the other. By the time the last task was finished, it was nearly dark. I sat on the dormitory bed plank, my palms rubbed raw with 2 fresh blisters. Roommate Jiang Zhisha peeked down from the top bunk. You haven't eaten, have you? I froze for a second. She handed me a bag of bread. Orientation day survival kit. This should tide you over. I took it. How much? She laughed. You can help me move the books tomorrow instead. I lowered my head and took a bite. The bread is sweet. Jin Wuyang called in the evening. I didn't answer. He sent a message that busy. After a while, Another message came through, don't push yourself too hard, the pace in Beijing is intense, reach out if you need anything. I stared at the screen and typed a reply, no need. The first month of school was a complete mess for me, the coursework is tough, the extracurriculars are packed, and I often find myself at a loss when classmates start talking about competitions and internships during a class presentation. I got so nervous I blanked out. Right after class, Jean Wuyang's message popped up, heard your presentation didn't go well. I stood at the foot of the teaching building, staring at those words. He always catches me in embarrassing moments right away. The next one came right after, I told you Beijing's pressure is intense. Don't shoulder everything alone. I deleted the chat window without replying. That night, I stayed at the library until closing time. Jiang Zhixiao was still awake when I got back to the dorm. She placed a club recruitment form on my desk. Weren't you looking for legal practice opportunities? This pro bono legal service club might be worth trying. I picked up the form. My presentation was terrible. What does poor display have to do with signing up? She turned over. Practice what you don't know. It's not like you're breaking the law. I couldn't help but chuckle. Later, I joined the service society and met Su Yanqing. He's a second-year grad TA who speaks concisely and shares materials without hesitation. The first time we met, I was wandering around with my work-study application form, completely lost. Su Yanqing happened to pass by and glanced at the form. Second floor, building 3, go now. It's less crowded. I thanked him. He nodded and walked away without another word. Next came the competition sign-up. He shared past case studies with us. Sign up if you can. Don't worry about saving spots for the teachers. Someone asked what to do with weak fundamentals. Su Yanqing said, if your foundation is weak, strengthen it. Don't sentence yourself to death before you've even tried. I sat at the back of the classroom, my pen pausing mid-sentence. I've remembered this saying for a long time. After Jin Wuyang found out about Su Yanqing, he made a point of coming to see me that day. I had just stepped out of the library when I saw him standing at the bottom of the steps. Been busy lately, I heard you joined the Public Interest Legal Services Society, He glanced at the documents in my hand. Is that Su Yanqing, your TA? I nodded. Jin Wuyang gave a faint smile. People like him probably come from well-off families. Don't let them look down on you after spending too much time with them. I looked up at him. I know this trick all too well. He was the first to call others tall. Don't say I'm low. In the end, I realized that staying close to him was the only way to feel safe. I clutched the documents tightly. He just told me where the office was. Jin Wuyang's expression darkened. Zhaoying, I just don't want to see you get hurt. I walked past him without stopping. I'll be the judge of that. He followed a few steps. You have to make your own judgments about everything now. I stopped. Right. Jin Wuyang didn't follow any further. 5. Just before freshman summer break, the Pro Bono Legal Service Club secured a competition project. The research project requires staying in Beijing. The school provides stipends, and top-performing teams may get recommendation opportunities. I signed up. When the roster was announced, Jin Wuyang called again. Not coming home for summer break, not going back. Does your family know? They do. Actually, my aunt objected at first. She said she should go back to work during summer break to save up some living expenses. I sent her the project stipend details, accommodation arrangements, and potential referral opportunities. This time, she said no more. Jin Wuyang was even less happy than she was. Zhaoying, aren't you being a bit too eager? With competitions like this, local students in Beijing have so many more resources. If you just follow along, you might end up with nothing in the end. I sat in the corner of the cafeteria, watching the food on my tray grow cold. Even if you don't get it, you still gain experience. You weren't this stubborn before. That was then. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. He suddenly said, do you think that now that someone's helping you, you don't need me anymore? I held the chopsticks. Jin Wuyang, I never needed you to make decisions for me. The words slipped out before I realized it, startling even myself. Across lifetimes, this was the first time I'd spoken so plainly. The call ended abruptly. The next day, Tian Xiao sent me another screenshot. This time it's complete. Take a look for yourself. I sat in a quiet corner of the library and opened the image. The chat took place before I filled out my college application in my previous life. Gao Lin, Jin Ge, are you really going to let Lin Zhaoying apply for a school within the province? Zhou Ziang, no way. If she tags along to Beijing, it'll be such a hassle. Gao Lin, now that little tail's in the capital, she'll be pestering brother Jin every single day. Jin Wuyang, she's not the right fit. Zhou Ziang, she actually believes you. Gao Lin, of course she would, with Lin Zhao being that timid, if brother Jean said there were man-eaters outside, she'd change her college application overnight, followed by a burst of laughter. Scroll down. Jean Wuyang, her family can't afford it, she'd just suffer there. Staying in the province is the safer choice. Zhou Ziang, stuck as a small-town teacher. Gao Lin, quite a match. Jean Wuyang didn't respond. A few minutes later, he sent a message. Don't say it in front of her. I stared at that screenshot, frozen for a long time. So in his previous life, he had already said it. It was no momentary misjudgment, not just youthful indiscretion. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew I'd believe him. You know I'm easily scared. Know that I treat his words as a compass. So he planted the signpost right in front of the provincial teachers' college. I saved each screenshot one by one, backing them up to my email and cloud storage. My hands were steady, so steady it almost felt unfamiliar. Su Yanqing paused when he passed the bookshelf, noticing my expression, feeling unwell. I turned off my phone. Nothing. He placed a book on the table. For the case study class, you asked about it last time. I'll take it, thank you. He glanced at me but didn't press further. If you're going through something, you can reach out to your counselor or club advisor. Don't carry it all by yourself. I nodded. After he walked away, I reopened the screenshot and kept scrolling down. The last one was posted later by Gao Lin. Bet you a bubble tea she'll lowball it in the end. Zhou Ziang, I'll bet you 2 drinks. Jean Wuyang sent an emoji, the default smile. In that instant, my heart sank like something was tugging it downward. Not pain but weight. I finally fished out the last remnants of old affection from the water, watching them rot in my palm. 6. After noticing my distance, Jean Wuyang started appearing everywhere. Outside the cafeteria, beneath the library, by the roadside after club activities, always wearing that gentle expression. Zhao, we need to talk. I sidestepped. He followed along. Did you see something? I stopped in my tracks. What do you think I should have seen? Jean Wuyang's expression froze. He quickly composed himself. Gao Lin and his crew talk nonsense. Don't take their words to heart. I chuckled. I haven't said who it was yet. His composure finally cracked. I kept walking forward. He called out to me from behind. Lin Zhaoying, those were just jokes. I didn't turn around. That night, Gao Lin sent a message in the old classmates group chat. Some people really change after going to Beijing. They don't even recognize their old friends anymore. Zhou Ziang chimed in with sarcastic remarks. It's perfectly normal for Beijing University to look down on students from our small town. Gao Lin, brother Jean worried about her for nothing back then. I glanced at the group chat and immediately posted 2 screenshots. One showed Jean Wuyang advising me to lowball the figures. The other captured Gao Lin and others betting on my underreported numbers. I kept it brief without lengthy captions, only sent one message: stop using "for my own good" as an excuse. The group went silent. After a long pause, Tian Xiao sent a single character expletive. Someone suddenly appeared. That's absolutely disgusting. So you really advised people to underreport back then? Gao Lin immediately jumped out. Can't you tell it's a joke? That screenshot's totally taken out of context. I posted another complete timeline. He shut up. Jean Wuyang met me privately. Do you really have to make this ugly for everyone? I replied. The real ugliness came from your words. He didn't respond for a long time. The next day, he waited for me downstairs at the club. Dark circles under the eyes, like you haven't slept all night. Zhao, I looked at him. His voice grew hoarse. I admit, I had ulterior motives back then. I was afraid if you went to the capital, we'd drift apart. He stared at me, his eyes gradually reddening. I was too young back then, and I was mistaken, but I never meant to harm you. I watched as people passed by us. You were afraid I'd leave, so you made me downplay myself. You feared I'd see the wider world, so you told me I wasn't cut out for it. Jean Wuyang, you called us a mistake. His lips quivered slightly. Fear of loss shouldn't ruin another's future. He stood frozen, as if pinned by those words. I walked toward the clubroom with my arms full of books. Suddenly, his voice came from behind me. I can make it up to you. I turned around. Don't. He looked pale. I said, I don't need any of your conditional help. After the competition results were announced, our team won first prize. Su Yanqing sent the result to the group, writing just 4 characters. Getting ready for the defense. Jiang Zhixia jumped up in the dorm and started shaking me excitedly. Lin Zhaoying, you're about to strike it rich. Subsidies just hit your account. Treat us to dinner. Dizzy from her shaking, I laughed and agreed. Later, thanks to my competition results and academic performance, I landed an internship at a law firm in the capital. On the day of the interview, I ran into Jean Wuyang downstairs. He's here for the interview too. He wore a well-tailored suit with a perfectly knotted tie, yet the exhaustion on his face was unmistakable. He froze for a second when he saw me. "You're into this place too, hmm." He glanced at the resume in my hand. "This one's tough, I know. If you'd like, I can go over the interview questions with you." I looked at him. He seemed to realize the remark was inappropriate and gave a wry smile. "You wouldn't let me help now, would you? The elevator is here." I walked in, the door closed, and I heard him whisper, "You used to know how." The elevator doors closed. During the interview, the partner asked me why I chose the dispute resolution practice area. I remembered at the last class reunion. Jean Wuyang poured me tea and said I wasn't suited for big places. I also recalled how in this lifetime, Professor Zhu introduced me to the funding policy, advising me not to close doors prematurely. I held my pen, responding slowly, because often, whether one can fight for something first depends on whether they realize they have options. The partner glanced up at me. At the end of the interview, he said, "We'll get back to you." A week later, I received an email confirming my internship acceptance. Jean Wuyang failed. I heard about this from Gao Lin. He held it in for days in the group chat, but finally couldn't resist being salty. "Some people are really good at maneuvering for advantage." Tian Xiao fired right back. "Lin Zhaoying, with those grades and competition wins on display, you could talk your way through the interview and still get nowhere." I was grabbing coffee downstairs from the law firm when I read this line. Couldn't help but burst out laughing. 7 Junior year, Jean Wuyang contacted my family. My aunt called me with mixed emotions in her voice. "Wuyang said you're pushing yourself too hard in Beijing and worries you'll burn out. He also mentioned there was some misunderstanding between you before, and asked me to persuade you not to be too harsh." I forwarded her my scholarship certificate and internship offer email. "Auntie, I'm doing just fine now." There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. "That's good." She let out a sigh. "I used to be short-sighted, always thinking staying in the province was safest. Now that you're venturing out, I'm learning to see the bigger picture too." I heard those words and felt a slight catch in my throat. "It's nothing," she whispered again. "Wuyang seems like a good kid, but he's too calculating. You decide." I said okay. Jean Wuyang ran out of his last excuse. He could no longer use family, background, or practicality to persuade me. Before graduation, he stopped me on the ginkgo-lined campus path. The wind was fierce that day, scattering leaves across the pavement. He's much thinner than before, his features still handsome, but that perpetual air of composure is gone. "Zhaoying, can we have a proper talk?" I glanced at the time. 10 minutes, he gave a bitter smile. "Now you're even counting the minutes, habit from my law firm internship." He looked at me, his eyes slightly bloodshot. I admit those words back then were harsh, and I'll own up to it. There was selfishness behind my advice to lowball the numbers. "Why?" He stayed silent. "I didn't push." "Ginkgo leaves fall between us." After a long silence, he finally spoke. "I'm afraid once you're in the capital, you'll realize I'm not that important to you." I looked at him. What else? His Adam's apple bobbed. "Afraid you'll outpace me." The words hung in the air, momentarily hushing the surroundings. He closed his eyes briefly, his voice turning hoarse. "You used to listen to me. The way you looked at me made me feel important. Back then I thought, if you went to the capital too, you'd meet more people and realize I'm just ordinary." He lifted his gaze to meet mine. "Zhaoying, I was such a mess back then." These words, I've waited for countless nights in the provincial capital of my past life. I waiting while preparing lessons late into the night in that small county town. Even when he poured tea at the class reunion, I waited. But when I actually heard it, there was no satisfaction in my heart as I'd imagined, only a sense of lateness. "Far too late," I said. "Jean Wuyang, what you need isn't me." His face turned a shade paler. "What's that?" "Someone who'll always look up to you." His eyes reddened instantly. "Can we really not go back?" I gazed toward the end of the ginkgo-lined path. "I don't make a habit of looking back." He stood there and didn't stop me. "Before graduation, I received a job offer from a Beijing law firm and a recommendation for further studies. When Professor Zhu found out, she sent me multiple clapping emojis on WeChat. I told you to go for it." I sent her a bubble tea money gift in return. "I owe you." She took it and replied, "Keep moving forward." After graduation, I went back to my small hometown. My high school invited me to give a talk to the juniors about college application strategies. When I stepped up to the podium, I saw many young faces. Some eyes sparkle with hope, while others, like mine back then, hide trembling hands beneath desks, too afraid to lift their gaze. I didn't tell any rags to riches story, just displayed the admission scores, rankings, scholarship options, and enrollment procedures one by one on the screen. After the talk, a girl followed me into the hallway. She was painfully thin, her Uniform sleeves frayed from too many washes. Senior, when your family's poor, is chasing distant dreams even worth it? I handed her the documents I'd printed out in advance. First, check the road. She looked up at me. I pointed to the first page of the document. Scholarships, loans, and the Green Channel are all listed there. You can take your time dealing with concerns. But don't let fear hold you back from submitting your application. The girl hugged the documents close to her chest, her eyes red. Thanks, Senior. I walked out of the school gate as it was getting dark. My phone gallery still has the photo of my acceptance letter from Capital University. The red cover looks vibrant on the screen. Jin Wooyoung later joined a regular law firm. Tian Xiao mentioned he's still competent, just not as eager to play the guide for others as he used to be. Gao Lin and Zhou Xiang also became much quieter in the group. When someone occasionally brings up the past, they play dead. I stopped checking their messages on the high-speed train back to Beijing. I opened my photo album and found that acceptance letter. After a few seconds, I flipped my phone face down on the tray table. The small county outside the window slowly recedes into the distance. The train plunged into the night, my reflection ghosting across the window. The flight attendant pushed the food cart by and asked if I wanted hot water. I handed the cup over. As the steam rose, the phone gave a little vibration. A text message came from an unknown number. What if I hadn't urged you to underreport back then? Would things have turned out differently? Read it, then delete. The lid clicked shut with a faint sound. Leaning back in my seat, I watched distant lights flicker on one by one. Story 2. Su Wan Wan. The organization needs you to cooperate by entering a sham divorce with Chen Ziyuan. My brother Su Beichen's stern voice came through the phone, just like in my past life. My hand trembled slightly as I held the phone. Scenes from my previous life flashing before my eyes. I had played along with a 3-year sham divorce to cover Chen Ziyuan's secret mission, only to discover he was genuinely involved with that female agent, and I, on the very night I learned the truth, was killed in a meticulously planned car crash orchestrated by enemies seeking revenge. Bro, I refuse. My words plunged the other end of the line into dead silence. 3 seconds later, Su Beichen's incredulous voice came through. What did you just say? I said, I refuse the sham divorce. I repeated, my tone resolute. In my past life, I sacrificed my own happiness for my brother's future and for Chen Ziyuan's mission. In this life, I won't be that fool again. Su Wan Wan. Su Beichen's voice rose an octave. Do you have any idea what this means? Ziyuan's mission concerns national security. Your cooperation is absolutely crucial. I let out a cold laugh. He said the same thing in my past life. All that talk about national security and noble causes, but in the end, it was just a cover for Chen Ziyuan to elope with that female agent named Lin Shui. Brother, have you ever stopped to think why it has to be a fake divorce? Why can't we find another way? I shot back. There was a long silence on the other end of the line before Su Beichen's sigh came through. Wan, this matter is more complicated than you think. Ziyuan, he what? I cut him off. He's fallen for Lin Shui, hasn't he? The moment those words left my lips, the other end of the line went completely silent. I could hear Su Beichen's ragged breathing and the creak of his chair swiveling. Clearly, I'd hit the nail on the head. How do you know Lin Shui? Su Beichen's voice grew guarded. I closed my eyes, recalling the agonizing truth from my past life. Lin Shui, who appeared to be an Interpol agent, was actually a woman Chen Ziyuan had rescued during an undercover mission. They had pretended to be a couple for that operation, but the act turned into reality and I kept completely in the dark from start to finish, played along with their charade like a fool. Brother, some things you think you've hidden well, but secrets have a way of coming out. I opened my eyes, gazing at the sea of city lights outside the window. Let me ask you again, is this sham divorce just to let Chen Ziyuan be with Lin Shui openly? Su Beichen remained silent for so long that I thought he had hung up. Finally, his voice carried a hint of resignation. Wan, feelings can't be forced. Ziyuan, really, enough. I hung up the phone directly. In my past life, I was too kind-hearted and trusted them too easily. In this life, I won't give anyone the chance to hurt me again. My phone rang again. It was Chen Ziyuan calling. Staring at that familiar name on the screen, a wave of complicated emotions washed over me. In my past life, I had loved him for 10 years, given him everything, only to be repaid with betrayal and death. Wan, Beichen told me, I know you're upset, but this mission is really important. Chen Ziyuan's voice was as gentle as ever. Just like all those times he'd sweet-talked me in our past life. Chen Ziyuan, I have a question for you. I cut him off. Go on. If you had to choose between the mission and me, what would you pick? The silence on the other end of the line lasted a few seconds, and that pause said everything. In my past life, I'd asked him the same question. His reply was, Juan, don't be difficult, we'll remarry as soon as the mission is over. But on the day the mission was completed, what I received wasn't an invitation to remarry, but his marriage certificate with Lin Shui. Juan, why are you asking that? We're husband and wife, of course I'll protect you, but this mission, enough. I hung up the phone again. Husband and wife, in our past life, we were in a fake divorce for 3 years. He kept saying it was for the mission, but in the end, the fake became real, and I, his actual wife, ended up being the outsider. I'm not making the same mistake twice in this lifetime. I walked to the window and watched the endless stream of traffic below. This was the most bustling district in the capital, and also the love nest Chen Ziyuan and I shared. In my past life, it was in this very apartment that I signed those fake divorce papers. My phone rang again, this time from an unknown number. Miss Su, this is Lin Shui. My blood ran cold at the sound of her voice. Lin Shui, the woman who stole my husband and indirectly caused my death. In my past life, I never laid eyes on her before I died. I never expected that in this life, she would be the one to reach out to me first. What do you want from me? I struggled to keep my voice steady. I'd like to meet with you. About Ziyuan, I think we should talk. Lin Shui's voice was clear and light, tinged with a hint of caution. Where should we meet? The cafe on the top floor of the Marriott Hotel. In 1 hour I hung up the phone and quickly changed into a black business suit. In my past life, I never had the chance to confront this woman face to face. This time around, I'm curious to hear what she has to say. 1 hour later, at the top floor cafe of the Marriott Hotel, Lin Shui was already waiting when I arrived. She looked younger than I'd imagined, probably mid-20s, with delicate features and an elegant presence. Miss Su, thank you for agreeing to meet me. Lin Shui stood up and extended her hand with a practiced social smile. I ignored her outstretched hand and took my seat directly. Go ahead, say what you came to say. I picked up the phone. Lin Shui's smile froze for a moment before she took a seat as well. Regarding the sham divorce, I believe you know the reason behind it, she said, getting straight to the point. I know. It was to let you and Chen Ziyuan be together openly, I said calmly. Lin Shui was clearly taken aback by my directness. She remained silent for several seconds before speaking. Miss Su, I think you've misunderstood something. Ziyuan and I are merely colleagues. Lin Shui, I cut her off, locking eyes with her. When you lie, don't avert your gaze. That's basic training for an agent, isn't it? Her face instantly changed. I continued. Last December, during that undercover mission in a Southeast Asian country, you two posed as a married couple for 3 months. This March, after Ziyuan returned home, he applied for a transfer for the first time, citing a desire for a change of scenery. Then in June, you also requested a transfer to the capital. Lin Shui's face grew increasingly pale. How did you find out about these things? Her voice trembled slightly. I let out a cold laugh. Did you think being the commander's sister was just for show? That was only half true. I really am Su Beichen's sister, but in my past life, I had no idea about these details. I only pieced it together after being reborn, relying on my memories. Miss Su, I admit that Ziyuan and I did develop some feelings for each other during the mission, but what? That you're miserable, that you never wanted this either. My voice grew colder with each word. Lin Shui, if you love each other, why not be together openly? Why stage this whole charade of a fake divorce? Lin Shui lowered her head, her voice barely a whisper. Because Ziyuan said he couldn't let you down, couldn't betray Commander Su's trust in him, so you came up with this fake divorce scheme. You want me to play along in your little act, so when the curtain falls you can be together without any pretense. Lin Shui remained silent, her silence speaking volumes. I rose to my feet, looking down at her. Lin Shui, I'll ask you one final question. What happens if I refuse to cooperate? She lifted her head, a flicker of ruthlessness passing through her eyes. Miss Su, some matters aren't yours to decide. Her words sent a chill down my spine. In my past life, it was precisely because I refused one of their demands that they retaliated and killed me. Is that so? I smiled coldly. We'll see about that. Lin Shui's voice came from behind. Miss Su, I hope you won't jeopardize everyone's future just out of spite. I didn't turn around, but a cold laugh echoed in my heart. Future, in my past life, you destroyed my future. Now, in this life, it's your turn to taste that bitterness. Leaving the hotel, I drove straight back to the Su family's ancestral home. The ancestral Su family home, situated in the western suburbs of the capital, is a traditional courtyard residence. As I pushed open the vermilion gate, I immediately spotted old Master Su. Seated in the courtyard enjoying his tea. "Grandfather," I called out, quickening my pace as I approached him. Old Master Su looked up, his graying eyebrows slightly furrowed. "What brings you back at this hour? You look pale. Has something happened?" "Hello." Old Master Su was a former high-ranking military officer. Even after years in retirement, his sharp perception remained undiminished. I sat down across from him, carefully choosing my words. "Grandpa, what would you do if someone asked you to sacrifice your own happiness for the so-called greater good?" Old Man Su set down his teacup, his sharp eyes fixed on me. "Has that Bachin kid been making demands of you again?" I hadn't expected Grandpa to be so perceptive. He'd figured it out right away. "Grandpa, what do you think is most important for a woman?" I sidestepped the question. "Dignity," Old Master Su said without hesitation. "A woman can live without wealth, without status, but never without dignity." Wan, tell your grandfather. "Has someone been mistreating you?" The old man's words made my eyes glisten with tears. "In my past life, I sacrificed my dignity for the so-called greater good, for my brother's future, and ended up dying a tragic death without a whole body to bury." "Grandfather, if Bachin asks me to do something I don't want to do, and it concerns his future, what should I do?" Old Master Su remained silent for a moment before speaking slowly. Wan, remember this, no one has the right to demand that you sacrifice your own happiness, not your brother. And not even me, but if we don't do it this way, it will affect many people. That was their choice." Old Master Su cut me off. Wan, you are a daughter of the Su family. The daughters of the Su family never compromise their integrity just to keep the peace. His words struck me like a heavy blow to the heart. In my past life, I cared too much about others' feelings, too eager to be the understanding little sister and the perfect wife, and in the end, I paid for it with my life. "Grandfather, I understand," I said, rising to my feet and bowing deeply to Old Master Su. Just then, the courtyard gate swung open and Su Bachin strode in. He was still in his military uniform, his expression grim. Spotting me there, he visibly faltered for a moment before quickly walking over. "Grandfather," he said, first saluting Old Master Su, then turning to me. Wan, what are you doing here?" "What? I can't come back to my own home," I shot back. Su Bachin frowned. "I've been looking for you all night. And you didn't answer your phone. I thought something had happened to you." "I'm fine, but you, brother, seem quite anxious," I said deliberately. Su Bachin glanced at Old Master Su, hesitating to speak. Old Master Su stood up instead. "Bachin, if you have something to say, just say it. What could you possibly not say in front of me?" Su Bachin hesitated for a moment before speaking up. "Grandpa, the organization has a mission that requires Wan's cooperation." "What kind of mission?" Old Master Su inquired. "She needs to fake a divorce with Ziyuan to assist him in carrying out a covert operation." Old Master Su's face instantly darkened. "A fake divorce?" "Yes, it's only temporary. We'll remarry as soon as the mission is over," Su Bachin explained. "Preposterous." Old Master Su slammed the table, making the teacup jump. "What kind of bullshit mission requires a fake divorce? Bachin, have you lost your mind?" Su Bachin was startled by his grandfather's fury. "Grandfather, this mission is crucial. It concerns national security." "National security?" Old Master Su sneered. "I've fought battles all my life. There's no mission I haven't seen. Since when does any mission require a soldier's wife to fake a divorce?" Watching from the side, a wave of warmth washed over me. In my past life, Grandpa passed away too soon, leaving no one to stand up for me. But in this life, with Grandpa's support, I feel much more confident. Su Bachin clearly hadn't expected to face such strong resistance, his face turning grim. "Grandpa, this matter is rather complicated. It's not something that can be explained in just a moment." "Can't be explained." Old Master Su's voice rose an octave. "Then take your time. I'm staying right here to listen." Su Bachin glanced at me, seemingly asking for help, but I just stared back coldly, giving no response. "Grandpa, this matter involves classified information, so I can't go into details, but I can assure you, Wan will not be harmed in any way." Su Bachin said. "Not be harmed." I finally spoke up. "Brother, do you think forcing a woman into a fake divorce and making her endure public gossip doesn't count as harm?" Su Bachin was momentarily at a loss for words. I continued. "Brother, let me ask you this. Would the mission really be impossible to complete without my cooperation?" Su Bachin fell silent for a moment, then nodded. "It would indeed be very difficult." "What happens if I refuse to cooperate?" Su Bachin's expression changed. Wan, Don't be unreasonable. I'm not being unreasonable. I stood up, looking straight into Su Baichen's eyes. I just want to know what the consequences would be if I refuse. Su Baichen remained silent for a long time before finally saying, it could affect my future prospects. At these words, Old Master Su's expression grew even more grim. Baichen, Old Master Su said sharply, are you threatening your sister with your own future? I'm not threatening anyone, I'm just telling the truth, Su. Baichen replied, fine then. I let out a cold laugh. Brother, I'm telling you officially right now, I refuse to cooperate with this sham divorce arrangement. As for your career prospects, that's your own business and has nothing to do with me. Su Baichen's face instantly turned pale. Wan, do you realize what you're saying? I know perfectly well what I'm saying. My tone was unusually resolute. I, Su Wan, refuse to sacrifice my marriage for anyone's career advancement. Su Baichen was about to say something more, but Old Master Su cut him off. Baichen, that's enough. Wan is right. No one has the right to demand that she sacrifice her own happiness. But Grandpa, no buts. Old Master Su rose to his feet, fixing Su Baichen with an authoritative gaze. If your future has to be built upon your sister's suffering, then such a future isn't worth having. Su Baichen was stunned by the old man's words, rendered speechless for a long moment. Just then, my phone rang. The caller ID showed Chen Ziyuan. I glanced at Su Baichen and answered the call right in front of them. Hello, Wan. Brother Baichen says you're unwilling to cooperate. I think we should meet and talk. Chen Ziyuan's voice sounded urgent. There's nothing to discuss, I said calmly. Chen Ziyuan, let's get a divorce, a real one this time. The other end of the line went silent instantly. Su Baichen and Old Master Su were both staring at me in shock. Wan, are you joking? Chen Ziyuan's voice trembled slightly. I'm not joking, I said calmly. Since you need to be single to carry out your mission, and since there's already someone else in your heart, let's get a divorce. That way we won't have to pretend until it becomes real and end up making things ugly for everyone. What nonsense are you talking about? When have I ever had someone else in my heart? Chen Ziyuan's voice rose. Lin Shui. I said only 2 words. The other end of the phone fell completely silent. Looking at Su Baichen's shocked expression, I felt a surge of satisfaction. In my past life, I was too kind, too trusting of them, which is why I was kept in the dark. In this life, I will bring all the truth to light. Chen Ziyuan, does your silence mean you're admitting it? I continued. Wan, I admit that Ling Shui and I developed feelings for each other during the mission, but I swear I never intended to betray you. Chen Ziyuan's voice choked up. With that, I turned and walked away. I let out a cold laugh. Never intended to betray me. Then what's this about a fake divorce? Did you plan to be with Lin Shui while keeping me as your wife in name only? Su Baichen's expression grew increasingly grim as he listened. Clearly, he hadn't expected the truth to be like this either. Wan, let me explain. Chen Ziyuan tried to say more. No need for explanations. I hung up the phone directly. Then, I turned to face Su Baichen. Brother, now you understand why I refused the fake divorce. Su Baichen's expression turned complicated. Wan, I didn't know about Ziyuan and that Lin Shui. You don't know, I sneered. Brother, you're the commander of the military district with so many intelligence officers under your command. How could you possibly not know about Chen Ziyuan and Lin Shui? Su Baichen was rendered speechless by my question. Old Master Su watched coldly from the side. Baichen, you'd better give me an explanation. Su Baichen remained silent for a long time before finally sighing. I did know about Ziyuan and Lin Shui's situation, but I thought everything would return to normal once this mission was completed. Back on track, I glared at him, my voice trembling with anger. Brother, are you saying that once the mission is over, Chen Ziyuan will forget about Lin Shui and love me again? Su Baichen lowered his head and remained silent. I was utterly disillusioned. In my past life, it was my blind faith in their empty promises that led me down a path of no return. From now on, stay out of my business, I said coldly, turning on my heel and walking away. Wan, Su Baichen called out from behind. I didn't turn back, just waved my hand. Goodbye. Stepping out of the Su family's ancestral home, I took a deep breath. In this lifetime, I'm going to live for myself. After leaving the Su family's old residence, I drove straight to the law firm. Ms. Su, are you really sure about getting a divorce? Lawyer Zhang Yin looked at the documents I handed over, clearly surprised. Zhang Yin was one of the top divorce lawyers in the capital and also my college classmate. In my previous life, I never seriously considered divorce, so I never reached out to her. But in this life, she was my first choice. Yes, I want a divorce, I nodded. And I'm leaving with nothing. Zhang Yun was even more astonished. Leaving with nothing, Miss Su, you've been married to Mr. Chen for 3 years, according to marital law, you're entitled to half of the shared assets. No need, I shook my head. I just want the divorce, I don't want any of the property. I knew perfectly well that in our previous life, Chen Ziyuan agreed to the sham divorce largely because he believed I would never truly leave him. He thought I loved him too much to walk away, which was why he felt free to hurt me so recklessly this time around. I'll make sure he sees that Su Wanwan can live perfectly well without him. Zhang Yin furrowed his brow. Ms. Su, I don't recommend this approach. Marital assets should be divided fairly. That's your right, Zhang Yun, just do as I say, I insisted. Additionally, my condition for him leaving with nothing is that if he marries or cohabits with the other woman within 1 year of our divorce, he must pay me 5 million in compensation for emotional distress. Zhang Yun paused for a moment, then broke into a knowing smile. Ms. Su, that's a clever condition, it's like putting a golden hoop around his head, he won't be able to act recklessly. Exactly, I said with a cold laugh. I'm curious to see if Chen Ziyuan is willing to pay that price too. Be with Lin Shui. Zhang Yin nodded. Understood, I'll draft the divorce agreement as soon as possible. My phone kept ringing the moment I stepped out of the law firm. Chen Ziyuan had called over a dozen times, but I didn't answer a single one. Finally, he sent a text. Wan, no matter how angry you are right now, I'll wait for you to calm down. What we have won't end because of some mission. Reading his message, I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. He'd said the same thing in my past life, but the moment that mission ended, he went straight to the registry office with Lin Shui to get their marriage certificate. I was about to delete this text message when my phone rang again. This time it was an unfamiliar number. Miss Su, I'm a friend of Lin Shui, she's in the hospital and would like to see you. I frowned. What happened to her? She attempted suicide by cutting her wrists and is now in the emergency room. She said even if they save her, she won't want to live if she can't see you. My heart tightened. In my past life, it was my soft-heartedness that allowed them to use me over and over again. In this life, I absolutely cannot make the same mistake again. Whether she lives or dies is none of my concern, I said coldly, then hung up the phone. But deep down, a voice whispered, what if she really dies? I shook my head, forcibly pushing the thought away. Lin Shui is a trained agent. She wouldn't actually kill herself. This is just another form of emotional blackmail. Sure enough, within 10 minutes, my phone rang again. This time, it was Chen Ziyuan. Wan, Lin Shui attempted suicide because of you. How can you bear not to go see her? Chen Ziyuan's voice was agitated. Chen Ziyuan, are you out of your mind? I said angrily. She did it because of me. She clearly did it for you. No, she said if our divorce was because of her, she'd rather die. Wan, she's genuinely remorseful. His words nearly made me laugh in disbelief. Chen Ziyuan, do you take me for a fool? She's remorseful. If she truly regretted her actions, why wouldn't she step aside voluntarily, and why resort to threatening suicide to manipulate me? Chen Ziyuan was left speechless by my questions. Chen Ziyuan, I'll say this one last time. My tone turned eerily calm. I want a divorce, a real one. The lawyer will deliver the divorce papers to you tomorrow. Whether you sign them or not is your choice. If you refuse, I'll file for divorce in court. Wan, please calm down. Things between us don't have to come to this. Is that all? I scoffed coldly. Chen Ziyuan, you've fallen for another woman and still expect me to play along with this charade. Do you honestly think this marriage is worth saving? Chen Ziyuan fell silent. I continued, your silence speaks volumes. In that case, let's part on civil terms and give each other a dignified ending. What if I refuse to divorce? Chen Ziyuan suddenly asked. This question caught me off guard. In my past life, I never actually brought up divorce, so I had no idea how he would react. Then get ready for a lawsuit, I said coldly. Chen Ziyuan, I have more than enough evidence to prove you cheated. When we go to court, you'll be the one who loses. What evidence? Chen Ziyuan's voice tightened with tension. Your call logs with Lin Shui, your hotel check-in records, and your intimate photos, I said pointedly. Truth is, I had no evidence whatsoever, but I was betting on Chen Ziyuan's guilty conscience, that he wouldn't dare take the risk. Sure enough, Chen Ziyuan's voice dropped to a whisper. Wan, can we meet and talk? There's nothing to discuss. I refused without hesitation. Wait for the lawyer's call. With that, I hung up and blocked Chen Ziyuan's number. This time, I'm cutting all ties with him for good. Just as I reached the parking lot, a black car suddenly pulled up in front of me. The door opened, and 2 men in uniform stepped out. Miss Su, Please come with us, one of the men said, flashing his credentials. My heart sank when I saw that familiar ID. It was from the Military District's Commission for Discipline Inspection. In my past life, these were the people who took me away. I spent 3 full days in the interrogation room. They accused me of leaking military secrets, and even though it was later proven to be a misunderstanding, the damage to my reputation was already done. What is this about? I asked, feigning composure. You've been accused of leaking military secrets. We need you to cooperate with our investigation. Just as I thought. History is repeating itself. Can I see the complaint letter? I asked. The man shook his head. These are confidential documents and cannot be shared. Please cooperate with our investigation. I knew resisting would be pointless at this point. If I refused to cooperate, they had the authority to take me away by force. All right, I'll go with you, I said with a nod. Before getting in the car, I secretly sent a text to Zhang Yun. I'm being taken away by the Commission for Discipline Inspection. It might be a setup. Please be careful. Then, I turned off my phone and got in the car with them. The car drove for about half an hour before stopping in front of the Military District Commission for Discipline Inspection building. I was taken to an interrogation room on the 3rd floor. The room was small, containing only a table and 2 chairs. A clock hung on the wall, ticking steadily. Please have a seat, Miss Su. A middle-aged man walked in, holding a file folder in his hand. I sat down, mentally preparing myself for what was to come. My name is Wang Chang, an investigator from the Commission for Discipline Inspection. The man introduced himself. The reason I've asked you here today is because you've been accused of leaking military secrets to foreign entities. I didn't, I said without hesitation. Miss Su, don't be so quick to deny it. Wang Chang opened the file folder and pulled out several photographs. These are photos of you meeting with a suspicious individual. I glanced at the photos and sneered inwardly. The person in the pictures was indeed me, but the man I was with was my university classmate Li Ming, who now works for a foreign company. In my past life, they used these very photos to frame me. Mr. Wang, this is my university classmate Li Ming. He works for a foreign company. We were just meeting as friends. Nothing confidential was discussed, I explained. Wang Chang frowned. Miss Su, according to our investigation, this Li Ming has overseas connections. And he has repeatedly asked you about the military district. When exactly? I retorted. Please provide concrete evidence. Wang Chang flipped through the files and said, on December 15 last year, at the Shangri-La Hotel, Li Ming asked you about your brother Su Beichen's job assignment. I thought it over. I did meet Li Ming that day, but we only reminisced about our college days and didn't discuss work matters at all. Mr. Wang, I believe you may have misunderstood something, I said calmly. If you have any recordings or other evidence, please present them. A few out-of-context photos can't prove anything. Wang Chang's expression darkened. Miss Su, we expect your full cooperation in this investigation. Please be honest with us. I have nothing to confess, I insisted. As someone from a military family, I, Su Wanwan, would never betray my country. Just then, the interrogation room door swung open, and a familiar figure stepped inside. It was Su Beichen. His face was pale, and a flicker of pain crossed his eyes when he saw me sitting in the interrogation room. Wanwan, he walked up to me. Are you okay? I ignored him, just staring at him coldly. Wang Chang stood up and saluted Su Beichen. Chief Su. Su Beichen nodded, then said to Wang Chang, this is all a misunderstanding. My sister would never leak military secrets. Wang Chang looked troubled. Commander Su, I understand what you're saying, but the tip-off letter and evidence are quite detailed. What tip-off letter? Who reported it? Su Beichen's tone was icy. Wang Chang hesitated for a moment before replying. It was Comrade Chen Ziyuan who reported it. The air in the interrogation room seemed to freeze the moment those words were spoken. I stared at Wang Chang in shock. In my past life, I never found out who reported me. I never imagined it would be Chen Ziyuan. Su Beichen's face turned unusually grim. Chen Ziyuan. Why would he report Wanwan? Wang Chang flipped through the file. Comrade Chen Ziyuan stated that Miss Su, due to her opposition to the fake divorce matter, threatened to retaliate against the organization and claimed to possess a great deal of military intelligence. I shot to my feet in fury. That's absolute nonsense. When did I ever say such a thing? Wang Chang continued. Comrade Chen Ziyuan also stated that Miss Su has made contact with foreign forces and is preparing to leak our military's operational plans. Bastard, Su Beichen roared, slamming his fist on the table. That son of a bitch. Chen Ziyuan actually dares to frame Wanwan. Watching Su Beichen's furious expression, My heart was filled with conflicting emotions. In my previous life, I was detained for 3 days before being released. Back then, Subachin had been just as enraged, defending me with the same fervor, yet in the end, the incident still dealt a severe blow to my reputation. Brother, I said calmly, there's no need to be angry, the truth will prevail. Subachin turned to look at me. His eyes filled with guilt and concern. Wan, I'm sorry, I failed to protect you. Protect me? I let out a cold laugh. Brother, if you really wanted to protect me, why did you ask me to go through with that sham divorce? If I had agreed, would Chen Ziyuan still have reported me? Subachin was left speechless by my questions. Wang Cheng said somewhat awkwardly from the side, Chief Su, regardless, since someone has reported it, we must follow procedure and investigate, Su. Bachin looked coldly at Wang Cheng. Wang Cheng, do you really think my sister would leak military secrets? Wang Cheng was intimidated by Subachin's imposing manner, his voice trembling slightly. Chief Su, I believe Miss Su wouldn't do such a thing, but the procedure, I stood up, looking at Wang Cheng. Mr. Wang, may I ask how long you've been investigating? Do you have any substantial evidence? Wang Cheng flipped through the files. We started the investigation yesterday. The evidence we currently have mainly consists of Comrade Chen Ziyuan's report and some photographs. So, aside from Chen Ziyuan's one-sided account, you don't have any substantial evidence, I continued. Wang Cheng nodded. Then, according to the relevant regulations, am I entitled to request a confrontation with the accuser? I asked. Wang Cheng paused for a moment. Well, that's acceptable. Good. I demand to confront Chen Ziyuan immediately, I said without hesitation. Subachin looked at me, his eyes showing both relief and concern. In my previous life, I never demanded a confrontation and just passively accepted the investigation, but in this life, I'm taking the initiative to bring all the truth to light. Half an hour later, Chen Ziyuan appeared in the interrogation room. Seeing me sitting there, his expression turned complicated. Ziyuan, Subachin looked at him coldly, you'd better give me a reasonable explanation. Chen Ziyuan lowered his head and remained silent. I stood up and walked over to him. Chen Ziyuan, I'm asking you, when did I ever threaten to retaliate against the organization? Chen Ziyuan looked up at me, his eyes filled with both guilt and helplessness. Wan, I know you hate me now, but I truly had no other choice. I let out a cold laugh. So you chose to frame me instead. Chen Ziyuan fell silent for a moment before saying, Wan, you refused to cooperate with the mission and even threatened to expose classified information. I was worried you might do something reckless. When did I ever threaten to expose classified information? I demanded angrily. Chen Ziyuan glanced at Subachin, then muttered under his breath, you said you knew about me and Lin Shui, and threatened to reveal the truth to everyone. Trembling with rage, I shot back, Chen Ziyuan, the truth I meant was about your relationship, not military secrets. Have you lost your mind? Chen Ziyuan lowered his head, unable to meet my eyes. Subachin's expression grew increasingly grim as he listened. Ziyuan, you've truly disappointed me. How could you frame Wan over a woman? Bachin, Chen Ziyuan attempted to explain. Enough. Subachin snapped sharply, effective immediately. You're suspended pending investigation. Furthermore, your mission with Lin Shui is cancelled. Chen Ziyuan's face instantly drained of color. Bachin, you can't do this. The mission is critical, important. Subachin sneered. How can I trust someone who would even frame his own wife with a critical mission? Watching Chen Ziyuan's desperate expression, I felt not a shred of sympathy. In my past life, this was exactly how he treated me. Now, in this life, he'll get a taste of his own medicine. Wang Cheng stood by, watching everything unfold with uncertainty. Chief Su, this ends here, Subachin said coldly. I'll personally write the report to clear Wan's name. As for the person who filed the malicious report, they will face consequences according to regulations. Chen Ziyuan staggered upon hearing this, nearly collapsing. I glanced at him, then turned and walked out. Wan, Chen Ziyuan called from behind, I know you hate me, but I never meant to harm you. I stopped in my tracks and looked back at him. Chen Ziyuan, no matter your reasons, framing someone is still framing someone. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. With that, I walked out without looking back. Stepping out of the CCDI building, I took a deep breath. In this life, I'm finally no longer the Su Wan who let everyone push her around. After leaving the CCDI building, Subachin followed close behind me. Wan, wait for me. He caught up, his face full of remorse. I didn't stop walking and continued forward. Wan, I know you're angry right now, But what? I stopped, turned to face him. But it's all for the greater good. But I should understand your difficulties. Subachin was left speechless by my question. Bro, let me ask you something. I looked him in the eye. If someone falsely accused you, would you forgive them? Subachin shook his head. No. Then what gives you the right to demand that I forgive Chen Ziyuan? I asked coldly. Subachin remained silent for a long time before speaking. Wan, I admit we handled this poorly, but Ziyuan, he what? Just because he fell for someone else, he thinks he can do whatever he wants. I cut him off. Brother, let me ask you, if it were you, would you ever frame your own wife? Subachin thought for a moment, then shook his head firmly. No, absolutely not. Then why are you still defending him? I let out a cold laugh. Subachin, you're my brother, not Chen Ziyuan's. Think carefully about whose side you should be on in this matter. Wan, Subachin called out from behind. No matter what happens, you'll always be my sister. I won't let anyone hurt you. I didn't turn back, just waved my hand dismissively. He'd said those same words in our past life. Yet in the end, the person who hurt me the most was precisely the one he trusted most. When I drove home, I noticed a white Audi parked at the entrance. Through the car window, I spotted a familiar figure. It was Lin Shui. She saw my car and immediately stepped out, walking toward me. I took a closer look at her wrist. It was wrapped in a bandage, but there was no trace of blood. Clearly, her suicide attempt had been nothing but a performance. Miss Su, Lin Shui spoke up, her voice somewhat weak. Thank you for agreeing to see me. I never said I was willing to see you, I said coldly. Lin Shui, what are you doing at my doorstep? Lin Shui bit her lip. Miss Su, I know you hate me right now, but I have something I need to say to you. Go ahead, I said without getting out of the car, merely rolling down the window. Lin Shui stepped closer, her voice barely a whisper. Ms. Su, I know I'm the one who tore your family apart. I'm willing to step aside. Her words caught me off guard. In my past life, Lin Shui had never once offered to back out. Step aside. I eyed her skeptically. Are you sure about this? Lin Shui gave a nod. I've already requested a transfer from the organization. I'm planning to return to my hometown in the south. I won't interfere with Ziyuan's affairs anymore. I studied her expression carefully, searching for any hint of deception, but her gaze was sincere, with no trace of dishonesty. Why? I asked. Lin Shui's eyes reddened, because I realized it wasn't Ziyuan himself I loved, but the thrill of carrying out missions together. True love shouldn't be built on other people's suffering. Her answer took me by surprise. Moreover, Lin Shui continued, I heard today that Ziyuan actually framed you to complete his mission. I don't think this man deserves any woman's love. That really struck a chord with me. Miss Su, I know apologies are meaningless, but I still want to say I'm sorry. Lin Shui bowed deeply. I hope you can forgive my selfishness. As I looked at her, my emotions were in turmoil. In my past life, I had considered Lin Shui my sworn enemy, but now, seeing things with fresh eyes, I realized she was also a victim. Chen Ziyuan exploited the mission as an opportunity to deceive both of us women at the same time. Lin Shui, I began, I won't forgive you, but I don't hate you anymore. Lin Shui looked up, her eyes filled with both surprise and gratitude. However, I shifted the topic. I want to know, was that mission of yours real or fabricated? Lin Shui paused, looking puzzled. What do you mean? What I'm asking is, was there really some crucial mission that required Chen Ziyuan to fake a divorce? Or is this all just an excuse he fabricated? I stared directly into her eyes. Lin Shui's expression shifted. Miss Su, why would you ask that? Because if there truly was such an important mission, the organization wouldn't cancel it so easily. Yet Su Beichen called it off with just one word. What does that tell you? Lin Shui remained silent for a long moment before finally saying, Miss Su, there are certain matters I can't go into great detail about, but I can tell you that the mission does exist. It's just not as crucial as they made it out to be. So you're saying a sham divorce wasn't necessary at all? I pressed further. Lin Shui nodded. That's correct. The sham divorce was merely one of the options Ziyuan proposed. In reality, there were plenty of alternative solutions available. That answer made me absolutely furious. So the whole fake divorce was nothing but an excuse fabricated by Chen Ziyuan to be with Lin Shui openly. He exploited the mission, took advantage of Su Beichen's trust in him, and manipulated my commitment to our marriage. Thank you for telling me the truth. I took a deep breath, struggling to maintain my composure. Lin Shui studied my expression with concern. Miss Su, are you alright? I'm perfectly fine, I smiled, but it was a cold smile. Lin Shui, since you've chosen to withdraw, I suggest you leave the capital as soon as possible. because Chen Ziyuan won't let you off easily. He sacrificed so much for this mission, and now that it's been cancelled, he's bound to take his anger out on you, I warned. Lin Shui's face turned pale. I mean, be careful. Chen Ziyuan is the kind of man who would frame his own wife to get what he wants. He won't hold back against an outsider like you. Lin Shui trembled all over upon hearing my words. Miss Su, what should I do then? She asked with some fluster. Leave the capital, the farther the better, I advised. Also, if Chen Ziyuan gives you any trouble, make sure to protect yourself. Lin Shui nodded, then asked, Miss Su, why are you warning me? Because I don't want anyone else to get hurt by Chen Ziyuan, I said calmly. Lin Shui, remember my words, this man isn't worth any woman's devotion. Lin Shui's eyes welled up with tears again. Miss Su, thank you, no need to thank me, just take good care of yourself, I said as I started the car and prepared to enter the residential area. Miss Su, Lin Shui called out from behind, if you ever need any help, please don't hesitate to contact me. I didn't turn back, only waved my hand in response. After parking the car and going upstairs back home, I immediately called Zhang Yun. Hello Zhang Yun, how's the divorce agreement coming along? It's all ready, I can have it delivered tomorrow. Zhang Yun's voice sounded excited. Miss Su, I heard Chen Ziyuan has been suspended. News travels fast. Yes, he accused me of leaking military secrets, and Su Beichen suspended me pending investigation, I explained briefly. Zhang Yun gasped over the phone. Oh my god, how could he do such a thing? For another woman, he'd even frame his own wife. That's exactly why I want a divorce, I said coldly. Zhang Yun, I'm now more certain than ever that this man isn't worth another second of my time. You're absolutely right, Zhang Yun agreed. With a man like that, the sooner you leave, the better. After hanging up the phone, I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at the sea of twinkling lights from the buildings below. In my previous life, it was in this very room that I signed that sham divorce agreement. Back then, I thought it was just a temporary separation, believing everything would eventually return to how it was. Little did I know that agreement would become the death knell for our marriage. This time around, I'm going to be the one to end it all. Just as I was thinking, the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw Chen Ziyuan. He stood outside the door, looking grim, holding a bouquet of roses. I didn't open the door, but said through it, Chen Ziyuan, we have nothing to talk about. Wan, please open the door, let's talk. Chen Ziyuan's voice trembled slightly. I know I was wrong, can you give me another chance? Another chance? I let out a cold laugh. Chen Ziyuan, when you framed me, did you ever think about giving me a chance? Chen Ziyuan fell silent for a moment before speaking again. Wan, I admit what I did was wrong, but I never meant to hurt you. I was just so terrified of losing you that I ended up doing something so stupid. Terrified of losing me. His words nearly made me laugh in disbelief. Chen Ziyuan, you're about to be with Lin Shui, and you're still afraid of losing me. I'm not trying to be with Lin Shui. Chen Ziyuan's voice rose. Wan, I admit I had feelings for Lin Shui, but I never intended to betray you, never intended to betray me. Then what's this about a fake divorce? I retorted. Chen Ziyuan was left speechless by the question. Chen Ziyuan, stop the act, I said coldly. Lin Shui already told me that so-called important mission never required a fake divorce. You just wanted an excuse to be with her openly. It was quiet outside the door for a long time, so long that I thought Chen Ziyuan had already left. Finally, his voice came through, tinged with a hint of despair. Wan, whether you believe it or not, I really do love you. Love me? I let out a cold laugh. Chen Ziyuan, your love is truly something special. You love me, so you want a fake divorce with me. You love me, so you frame me. You love me, so you get together with another woman. I can't bear that kind of love. Wan, Chen Ziyuan, I'm telling you for the last time. I cut him off. You'll receive the divorce papers tomorrow. Whether you sign them or not is up to you. If you refuse, I'll take this to court. I won't sign, Chen Ziyuan said firmly. Wan, I absolutely will not divorce you. Refuse. I let out a cold laugh. Then I'll see you in court. Outside the door, silence fell once more. After a long while, I heard footsteps fading away. Chen Ziyuan must have left. Peering through the peephole, I found the hallway deserted, with only that discarded bouquet of roses left behind. Gazing at the flowers, I was transported back to our first date in our previous life. Back then, Chen Ziyuan was tender and considerate. He remembered every little preference of mine, and would stay up all night caring for me whenever I fell ill. In those moments, I truly believed I had found the person to share my life with. I never imagined he would be the one to hurt me the most in the end. I turned off the light and got ready for bed. Tomorrow marks the beginning of a new life. Early the next morning, I was woken by an insistent doorbell. I checked the time. It was only 6 in the morning. I got up and opened the door. It was Zhang Yun, holding a document with a grim expression on her face. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Miss Su, something terrible has happened," Zhang Yun said as she stepped inside and handed me the document. "Chen Ziyuan has beaten us to it. He's already filed for divorce." I took the document and saw it was indeed a court summons. The plaintiff was Chen Ziyuan, and the defendant was me. "What is he suing me for?" I frowned. Zhang Yun pointed at the summons and said, "He claims you're having an affair, demanding a divorce, and that you leave with nothing." I almost laughed in disbelief. "An affair? What evidence does he have?" "He mentioned you've been frequently meeting with a man named Li Ming, and suspects you're having an affair." Zhang Yun's expression turned serious. "Miss Su, who is this Li Ming?" I thought for a moment. "He's my university classmate, currently working at a foreign company. We have met a few times, but only at casual gatherings with friends." "Have you ever spent time alone with him?" Zhang Yun inquired. "A few times, but always in public places," I answered truthfully. Zhang Yun's expression grew even more grave. "Ms. Su, this is serious." Chen Ziyuan clearly came prepared. "He may have photos of you and Li Ming together." It suddenly occurred to me that Wang Cheng from the disciplinary commission had used photos of Li Ming and me yesterday to accuse me of leaking classified information. "Zhang Yun, the photos Chen Ziyuan has are likely the same ones from the disciplinary commission," I explained, briefly recounting the events of the previous day. Zhang Yun grew even more furious. "That Chen Ziyuan is utterly shameless. First, he falsely accuses you of leaking secrets, and now he uses the same evidence to charge you with having an affair. Is there any way to fight back?" I asked. Zhang Yun thought for a moment. "We could file a counter lawsuit, accusing him of infidelity. Didn't you say he was involved with that Lin Shui? Lin Shui has already left the capital, and she claims there was no physical relationship between her and Chen Ziyuan." I shook my head. "That approach won't work." "Then what should we do?" Zhang Yun asked anxiously. I took a moment to collect my thoughts. "Zhang Yun, stay calm. Even though Chen Ziyuan filed the lawsuit first, all the evidence he has is fabricated. As long as we present the truth in court, we won't lose the case. But Miss Su, with legal battles like this, even if you ultimately win, it will still cause significant damage to your reputation," Zhang Yun said with concern. "Of course I was aware of that, in my previous life. Although the accusation of leaking confidential information was eventually cleared, the rumors had already spread throughout the entire military district. In this life, if I were to face another lawsuit over infidelity, regardless of the outcome, my reputation would suffer. But I had no way out now." "Zhang Yun, since things have come to this, we'll see it through to the end," I said firmly. "I'm curious to see what tricks Chen Ziyuan has up his sleeve." Zhang Yun nodded. "Understood. I'll defend you with everything I've got." After seeing Zhang Yun out, my phone rang. It was Su Beichen. "Wan, I heard Ziyuan is suing you." Su Beichen's voice was grave. "Yes," I said quietly. "Brother, are you here to persuade me to reconcile?" "I came to tell you that I'll support you." Su Beichen's words took me by surprise. "Ziyuan's actions have gone too far. I won't defend him." His words warmed my heart. In my past life, although Su Beichen eventually stood by my side, he had been hesitant at first. This time, his stance was clear from the start. "Thank you, brother," I said sincerely. "No need to thank me. You're my sister. Of course I'll protect you." Su Beichen paused. Wan, if you ever need anything, just say the word." After hanging up, I felt a wave of relief. At least in this life, I'm not fighting alone. Around noon, I received an unexpected phone call. "Miss Su, this is Li Ming." The voice on the phone sounded tense. "I heard Chen Ziyuan is suing you, and he's using our photo as evidence." "Yes," I admitted directly. "Li Ming, I'm sorry for dragging you into this." "Miss Su, please don't say that." Li Ming's voice was indignant. "We've done nothing wrong, so what is there to fear? I'm willing to testify in court to prove there's been no improper relationship between us." His offer moved me deeply. "Li Ming, thank you, but are you sure? Testifying in court could affect your job." "It's no trouble at all," Li Ming said firmly. "Miss Su, we're friends. When a friend is in need, of course I'll help, and I won't allow anyone to use me to tarnish your reputation." With Li Ming's support, I felt more confident. In the afternoon, I went to the law firm to discuss countermeasures with Zhang Yun. "Miss Su, I've carefully reviewed Chen Ziyuan's complaint, Zhang Yun said, spreading the documents on the table. His evidence mainly consists of 3 points. First, intimate photos of you and Li Ming. Second, records of your phone calls with Li Ming. And third, witness testimony. Witness testimony. Who's the witness? I asked. Zhang Yun flipped through the documents. A woman named Wang Li claims she saw you and Li Ming checking into a hotel together. Wang Li, I thought for a moment. I don't know that person. She's probably a false witness arranged by Chen Ziyuan. Zhang Yun analyzed. Miss Su, we need to find a way to prove she's committing perjury. What can we do? Zhang Yun pondered for a moment. We could hire a private investigator to look into Wang Li's background and see what her connection is to Chen Ziyuan. Alright, you go ahead and arrange that. I nodded. Also, Li Ming has agreed to testify in court to prove our innocence. Zhang Yun's eyes lit up. Excellent. With the testimony from the person involved, we stand a much better chance. Just then, Zhang Yun's phone rang. She answered it, and her expression gradually darkened. What is it? I asked. Zhang Yun hung up the phone, her face grave. Miss Su, I have bad news. Chen Ziyuan's lawyer just contacted me and said they're willing to settle. Settle? On what terms? They're willing to drop the lawsuit, but only if you admit to the affair and walk away with nothing, Zhang Yun said angrily. This is downright humiliating. I let out a cold laugh. Chen Ziyuan is dreaming. Tell them I'll never agree to such terms. That's exactly what I thought. Zhang Yun nodded. Miss Su, we'll see you in court. That evening, while I was at home preparing documents for the next day's court hearing, the doorbell rang again. I was quite surprised to see who it was. Grandpa Su. Grandpa, what brings you here? I quickly opened the door. Grandpa Su stepped inside with a stern expression. Wan, I've heard about what happened between you and Ziyuan. I poured him a cup of tea. Grandpa, are you here to talk me into something? Trying to persuade you? Old Master Su snorted coldly. I'm here to back you up. That response took me by surprise. Old Master Su went on. Wan, in all my years, what kind of person haven't I seen? That Chen Ziyuan fellow has some serious character flaws. Grandpa, hear me out. Old Master Su waved his hand dismissively. A man can make mistakes, he can have faults, but he absolutely must have principles. Chen Ziyuan first falsely accused you of leaking secrets, and now he's charging you with infidelity. A man like that is not worthy of being my Su family's grandson-in-law. The old master's words made my eyes grow slightly moist. Grandfather, thank you for understanding me. Understanding? Old Master Su shook his head. Wan. This isn't a matter of understanding or not understanding, this is a matter of right and wrong. Chen Ziyuan was in the wrong, and he must face the consequences. Old Man Su rose to his feet, pulling a document folder from his coat and handing it to me. What's this? I asked. Dirt on Chen Ziyuan. Old Man Su said calmly. It includes evidence of him embezzling public funds for gambling, taking bribes under the table, and having improper relationships with multiple women. I stared at the folder in shock. Grandpa, how did you get this? Wan, your grandpa may be retired, but I still have some old connections. A glint of shrewdness flashed in Old Man Su's eyes. I had a hunch that Chen Ziyuan was up to no good, so I had someone look into him discreetly. To my surprise, they uncovered quite a lot. I opened the file folder, and the contents inside left me utterly stunned. There were photos, audio recordings, bank transfer records, all sorts of evidence. What shocked me the most was discovering that Chen Ziyuan had been involved in inappropriate relationships with multiple women, and Lin Shui was just one of them. Grandpa, is all of this true? I asked in disbelief. Absolutely true. Old Man Su nodded. Wan, use these documents to counter him in court tomorrow. I'd like to see how he has the nerve to accuse you of infidelity with these materials. We have a guaranteed win in tomorrow's lawsuit. Grandpa, how did you manage to get these documents? I asked curiously. Old Man Su smiled mysteriously. Trade secret, but rest assured, these materials were obtained legally and can be used in court. Looking at these documents, I felt a tumult of emotions. In my past life, I trusted Chen Ziyuan completely and never doubted him. I never imagined he'd do so many despicable things behind my back. Wan. Old Master Su observed my expression. Are you shocked? I nodded. Yes, I never thought Chen Ziyuan could be such a person. Wan. Always remember your grandfather's words, Elder Su said with profound sincerity. Don't judge people by appearances alone, observe their actions. A man who truly loves you would never let you suffer any injustice. His words struck a deep chord within me. Grandfather, I understand, I said, rising to my feet and bowing deeply to Elder Su. Thank you for everything you've done for me, silly child, you're my granddaughter, if I don't protect you, who will? Elder Su gazed at me tenderly. Wan Wan, be strong in court tomorrow. No matter what Chen Ziyuan says, remember this, you are innocent, and you are a daughter of the Su family. I will, Grandpa, I nodded with determination. After seeing old Master Su off, I carefully studied the materials. The more I read, the angrier I became, and the more relieved I felt. What infuriated me was how long Chen Ziyuan had been deceiving me. Fortunately, I uncovered the truth in time and didn't let him deceive me any longer. That night, I slept soundly, because I knew tomorrow would be the day I finally break free from Chen Ziyuan. The day of the court hearing had arrived. Dressed in a black business suit, I followed Zhang Yun into the courtroom. Chen Ziyuan was already there, seated at the plaintiff's table. His lawyer, a middle-aged man, looked quite sharp. When Chen Ziyuan saw me, a complex emotion flickered in his eyes, but I ignored him and walked straight to the defendant's table to take my seat. The judge was a woman in her 50s who appeared very stern. Court is now in session. The judge rapped the gavel. Plaintiff Chen Ziyuan is suing defendant Su Wan Wan for divorce and demanding she leaves the marriage with no assets. Plaintiff, please state your grounds for filing. Chen Ziyuan's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, my client Chen Ziyuan and the defendant Su Wan Wan have been married for 3 years and had a very good relationship. However, it was recently discovered that the defendant has been involved in an improper relationship with another person, which has severely damaged my client's emotional well-being. Therefore, my client petitions the court to grant a divorce and orders the defendant to leave the marriage with no share of the marital property. What evidence do you have? The judge inquired. Chen Ziyuan's lawyer produced a stack of photographs. Your Honor, these are intimate photographs of the defendant with a man named Li Ming. As you can see from the photos, their relationship clearly goes beyond that of ordinary friends. I glanced at those photos. They were indeed pictures of me with Li Ming, but all taken in public places with deliberately misleading angles. Besides the photos, we also have witness testimony. Chen Ziyuan's lawyer continued. Witness Wang Li will testify that she personally saw the defendant checking into a hotel with Li Ming. The judge nodded and said, call the witness to the stand. A woman in her 30s walked in. This must be Wang Li. Her attire was plain, but her eyes seemed evasive. Witness Wang Li, please state to the court what you know. The judge said. Wang Li cleared her throat. Your Honor, I am a front desk employee at a hotel. One day in March this year, I saw the defendant Su Wan Wan check into a room with a man, and they were behaving intimately. Zhang Yun immediately stood up. Your Honor, I request to cross-examine the witness. Granted. The judge nodded. Zhang Yun approached Wang Li and asked, Ms. Wang, are you still working at that hotel? Wang Li shook her head and replied, no, I've already resigned. When did you resign? Last month. Can you provide the hotel check-in records from that time? Zhang Yun pressed further. Wang Li's expression turned uneasy. Well, I no longer work at the hotel, so I don't have access to those records. Zhang Yun let out a cold laugh. If there are no records, how can you claim Ms. Su checked into a room, based solely on your word? Wang Li stammered. I remember clearly. I really did see them enter the room together. Which room? What time? How long did you stay? Zhang Yun fired off questions in rapid succession. Wang Li was left speechless by the interrogation. Clearly lying. Your Honor, this witness is clearly committing perjury. Zhang Yun turned to the judge. She can't even recall basic details. Testimony like this is completely unreliable. Chen Ziyuan's lawyer quickly rose to his feet. Your Honor, the witness may have forgotten details due to nervousness, but that doesn't invalidate the truthfulness of her testimony. The judge glanced at Wang Li and said, the witness is dismissed. Wang Li walked out with a palpable sense of relief. The defense may now proceed with their arguments. The judge addressed Zhang Yun. Zhang Yun rose and declared, Your Honor, my client Su Wan Wan has absolutely not committed adultery. The evidence presented by the plaintiff is taken out of context and distorts the truth. What evidence supports your claim? The judge inquired. Our witness Li Ming is willing to testify in court. Zhang Yun stated. Li Ming entered the room, dressed in a crisp suit and looking sharp. Witness Li Ming, please describe to the court your relationship with the defendant Su Wan Wan. The judge instructed. Li Ming stated clearly, Your Honor, Su Wan Wan and I were university classmates. After graduation, we occasionally met to chat, but there was absolutely no inappropriate relationship between us. All our meetings took place in public venues, and we were never alone together. How do you explain the photographs provided by the plaintiff? The judge inquired. Li Ming glanced at the photographs. These photos were indeed taken when we were together, but they were all in public places like restaurants and cafes. The plaintiff deliberately selected photos with misleading angles to create a false impression. Zhang Yun continued, Your Honor, beyond Li Ming's testimony, we have more crucial evidence. Zhang Yun pulled out the documents Mr. Su had given me from his briefcase. What are these? The judge inquired. This is evidence of the plaintiff Chen Ziyuan's illegal activities, Zhang Yun said as he handed the materials to the judge. It includes embezzlement, bribery, and inappropriate relationships with multiple women. The judge took the documents and began reviewing them carefully. As she read, her expression grew increasingly grave. Chen Ziyuan's face turned pale instantly upon seeing these documents. He clearly hadn't expected us to have this evidence. Chen Ziyuan, are these documents authentic? The judge asked sternly. Chen Ziyuan stammered, Your Honor, these documents, I don't know where they came from. They might be fabricated. Fabricated, Zhang Yun sneered. These documents are backed by bank records, audio and video recordings, and witness testimonies. Chen Ziyuan, are you still trying to deny this? Chen Ziyuan's lawyer quickly stood up. Your Honor, these materials are irrelevant to the case and should not be admitted as evidence. Zhang Yun retorted, Your Honor, the plaintiff accuses my client of infidelity and demands she leaves the marriage with nothing. Yet the evidence shows it is the plaintiff who is at fault. How can someone who embezzles funds, accepts bribes, and engages in improper relationships with multiple women have the right to accuse others of infidelity? The judge nodded. The defendant makes a valid point. Chen Ziyuan panicked completely. He stood up and shouted at me, Wan, we could have discussed this privately, why bring it to court? I stared at him coldly. Chen Ziyuan, you were the one who filed the lawsuit against me first. Now you want to settle this privately. Do you really think that's possible? Wan, I admit I was wrong, but I truly love you. Chen Ziyuan's voice choked with emotion. We can start over. I stood up, looking him straight in the eye. Chen Ziyuan, do you admit to embezzling public funds, accepting bribes, and having inappropriate relationships with multiple women? Chen Ziyuan was left speechless by the questioning. I continued, since you refuse to admit it, we have nothing left to discuss. Your Honor, I file a counterclaim against Chen Ziyuan, demanding he forfeit all marital assets and compensate me for emotional distress. The judge rapped the gavel. Court is now adjourned. Both parties, prepare your closing statements. During the recess, Chen Ziyuan approached me and whispered, Wan, do you really have to take this so far? I stared coldly at him. Chen Ziyuan, you're the one who crossed the line first. You falsely accused me of leaking confidential information, sued me for adultery, and now you're saying I'm taking it too far. I know I was wrong, but those documents, Chen Ziyuan's voice was barely a whisper, if they're made public, I'm finished. Whether you're finished or not is none of my concern, I said mercilessly. Chen Ziyuan, do you remember what you promised at our wedding? You said you'd never hurt me, no matter what. It seems those were empty words. A flicker of pain crossed Chen Ziyuan's eyes. Wan, I truly never meant to hurt you, never meant to hurt me. I let out a cold laugh. Framing me isn't hurt, suing me isn't hurt. Chen Ziyuan, have you no conscience left? Chen Ziyuan was left speechless by my scolding and could only slink away in disgrace. Zhang Yun approached me and said, Miss Su, you handled that very well. I believe the judge will deliver a fair verdict. Sure enough, when the judge reconvened the court, the verdict was announced. After court investigation, the plaintiff Chen Ziyuan's grounds for lawsuit are found unsubstantiated, with insufficient evidence to prove defendant Su Wan committed adultery. Conversely, evidence provided by the defendant demonstrates multiple instances of misconduct and legal violations by plaintiff Chen Ziyuan. The judge declared while reading the verdict, the court rules as follows. The divorce between Chen Ziyuan and Su Wan is granted, but the plaintiff's demand for the defendant to forfeit all marital assets is denied. Furthermore, the defendant's counterclaim is upheld, ordering plaintiff Chen Ziyuan to compensate the defendant 500,000 yuan for emotional distress. Hearing the verdict, I let out a long sigh of relief. Finally, this whole farce was over. Upon hearing the judgment, Chen Ziyuan slumped into his chair, his face ashen. I stood up, took one last look at him, and then turned and left the courtroom. Stepping out of the courthouse, I took a deep breath of fresh air. The feeling of freedom was truly wonderful. The day after the divorce ruling came through, I received a bank transfer from Chen Ziyuan, 500,000 in compensation for emotional distress, not a single cent less. Staring at the balance in my bank account, I felt no joy, Only relief. This money was compensation for my 3 years of marriage, and the seed capital for my fresh start. Zhang Yun called me, Ms. Su. Congratulations on winning the case. How do you plan to use the money? I'll donate a portion of it, I said. After a moment's thought, to women who've suffered from domestic violence, to help them rebuild their lives. Zhang Yun nodded in agreement. That's a wonderful idea, Miss Su. You're truly a kind-hearted person. After hanging up, I started packing my things. This apartment was the marital home Chen Ziyuan and I shared. Now that we're divorced, I can't bear to stay here any longer. There are just too many painful memories. It's time for a clean break. While I was still packing, the doorbell rang. I peeked through the peephole and saw Su Beichen. Bro. I opened the door to let him in. Su Beichen frowned at the suitcases filling the room. Are you moving? Yes, I nodded. There are too many memories here. I need a change of scenery. Su Beichen fell silent for a moment before saying, Wan, I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing? I asked. It's about Chen Ziyuan. Su Beichen's voice was heavy. If I hadn't supported that sham divorce plan back then, maybe things wouldn't have come to this. I shook my head. Brother, this isn't your fault. Chen Ziyuan was bound to show his true colors sooner or later. Better to see it clearly now than find out later. Su Beichen looked at me, his eyes filled with both relief and heartache. Wan, you've changed. Changed? How so? You've become stronger and more level-headed, Su Beichen said. The old you would have been a sobbing mess in a situation like this, but now you're handling it with such composure. I smiled. People grow. Going through all this has taught me a lot. Su Beichen paused in thought before asking, Wan, do you have any career plans? I want to start my own business, I replied, open a design firm specializing in interior decoration. This was truly my aspiration. In my past life, I'd always depended on Chen Ziyuan, never building a career of my own. This time, I'm determined to be fully independent and live on my own merits. A design firm. Su Beichen sounded surprised. Do you have experience in that field? I actually majored in environmental art design in college, so I have a solid foundation, I said. Plus, I've been keeping up with the industry over the years and have developed some ideas of my own. Su Beichen nodded. That sounds promising. If you need funding, I can help you out. Thanks, but I'd like to make it on my own. I politely declined his offer. After donating part of the compensation from Chen Ziyuan, the remaining 50,000 is enough for me to get started. Su Beichen smiled warmly. All right, I support you, but if you run into any difficulties, you must let me know. I will, I nodded. Su Beichen helped me move my luggage to the new place. It's a 2-bedroom apartment downtown, simply decorated with great natural light. This is nice. Su Beichen looked around. It's not far from the military district either. If anything comes up, I can get here quickly. Bro, you worry too much, I said with a laugh. I'm an adult now. I can take care of myself. After settling into my new home, I started preparing to set up a design company. First, I registered the company, then rented office space, and began hiring staff. Even though there was a lot to do, I felt more fulfilled than ever before. This was the first time I was fighting for my own dreams, and it felt amazing. A month later, Wan Design officially opened for business. The company was small, just me and 2 assistants, but though small, it was fully equipped and functional. On opening day, Su Beichen and Old Master Su both came, along with some friends and classmates. Wan, congratulations. Li Ming also arrived, holding a bouquet of flowers. I didn't expect you to start a company so quickly. Thank you, Li Ming. I accepted the bouquet. And thank you for testifying for me in court. Li Ming waved his hand dismissively. That's what friends are for. By the way, our company is about to renovate our new office space. How about having your team handle the design? This being our first project, I wasn't about to turn it down. Absolutely, we'll make sure you're completely satisfied with the design proposal. Over the next few months, the company started getting more and more business. My design philosophy is about achieving simplicity without being simplistic, combining functionality with aesthetic appeal, which has been very well received by clients, particularly among female clients, who really appreciate my attention to the finer details of everyday life. Designer Su, you're truly exceptional, a client told me. We consulted several design firms but weren't satisfied with any. Your designs are the only ones that truly understood what we were looking for. Hearing such feedback fills me with a deep sense of accomplishment. With that, I turned and walked away. This sense of accomplishment was something I had never experienced in my marriage. 6 months later, the company had grown to over a dozen employees, and our business had expanded throughout the capital. I was in my office working on a project proposal when my assistant Xiao Wang knocked and entered, saying, "President Su, there's someone here to see you." "Who is it?" I asked. "She said she's an old classmate of yours, named Lin Shui." "Lin Shui? Didn't she leave the capital? What brings her back?" After a moment's hesitation, I asked Xiao Wan to show her in. Lin Shui entered the office looking much more haggard, her complexion noticeably pale. "Miss Su, sorry to bother you." Lin Shui's voice was barely above a whisper. "Have a seat." I gestured to the chair opposite. "Didn't you leave the capital? What brings you back?" Lin Shui sat down, keeping her eyes lowered as she said, "I did leave, but I ran into some trouble." "What kind of trouble?" I asked. Lin Shui looked up at me, her eyes filled with both fear and despair. "Chen Ziyuan found me." This answer didn't surprise me in the slightest. "What did he do to you?" I asked. Lin Shui's voice trembled. "He said I'm the reason he lost everything. And he wants me to make it up to him. If I refuse, he's going to kill me." I frowned. He actually had the nerve. Lin Shui rolled up her sleeve, revealing the bruises on her arm. "He did all this, Miss Su. I'm really scared. I don't know what to do." Seeing those marks, a surge of anger welled up inside me. No matter what Lin Shui might have done before, she didn't deserve to be treated like this. "Did you call the police?" I asked. Lin Shui shook her head. "He threatened that if I went to the police, he'd burn everything down, and he said with Chief Su backing him, the police would never believe me." Her words stoked my anger even further. Chen Ziyuan was still exploiting Su Beichen's name to commit his dirty deeds. "Lin Shui, where are you staying now?" I asked. "I'm too scared to go home. I've been staying in hotels." Lin Shui's eyes were filled with fear. "But he always manages to find me. I don't know where else I can hide." I thought for a moment, then made a decision. "You should stay with me for now. At least you'll be safer here temporarily." Lin Shui looked at me in shock. "Miss Su, you're willing to help me." "I'm not helping you," I said calmly. "I'm protecting an innocent woman from harm, and the fact that Chen Ziyuan dares to do this shows he's completely lost his mind. If we don't stop him, the next victim could be someone else." Lin Shui looked at me gratefully. "Miss Su, thank you. I know I was wrong before and don't deserve your help." "Enough," I cut her off. "What's done is done. The most important thing now is to figure out how to stop Chen Ziyuan." "But how do we stop him?" Lin Shui asked. I picked up the phone and dialed Su Beichen's number. "Bro, I need a favor." "What's up?" Su Beichen asked. "Chen Ziyuan threatened and hurt a woman. I need you to step in and handle this." I briefly explained the situation. Su Beichen fell silent for a moment on the phone, then said, "I understand. I'll handle it." After hanging up, I told Lin Shui, "Stay at my place for now and don't go out. I'll have someone ensure your safety." Lin Shui nodded, her eyes filled with both gratitude and guilt. That evening, I brought Lin Shui back to my home. She looked around my simple yet cozy decor and said with emotion, "Ms. Su, your home feels so warm." "Thank you." I poured her a cup of tea. "Lin Shui, I'd like to ask you something." "Go ahead." "Do you regret it?" "Regretting getting involved in my marriage with Chen Ziyuan back then?" I looked straight into her eyes. Lin Shui lowered her head and remained silent for a long time before saying, "I regret it, I really do, because I realized it wasn't Chen Ziyuan I loved, but the thrill of it all." Lin Shui said softly, "Once I truly got to know him, I saw who he really was, selfish, hypocritical, and completely without principles." "Then why did you get together with him in the first place?" I continued to ask. Lin Shui thought for a moment. "Maybe it was loneliness. In my line of work, it's hard to have a normal relationship. When I met Chen Ziyuan, he was so gentle with me. I thought I'd found true love, and now I understand that true love shouldn't be built on lies and betrayal." Lin Shui looked up at me. "Miss Su, I owe you an apology. I'm sorry for destroying your marriage. I've been waiting for this apology for what feels like 2 lifetimes." "Lin Shui, I accept your apology," I said, "but I hope you'll remember this lesson and never do something like this again." Lin Shui nodded. "I will, Miss Su. I'm already grateful that you can forgive me." The next day, Su Beichen called me. "Wan, the matter with Chen Ziyuan has been handled." "How was it handled?" I asked. "He's been arrested by the police on suspicion of intentional assault and extortion. Based on the evidence, he'll be spending at least a few years in prison." Su Beichen's tone was serious. "Additionally, his previous illegal and disciplinary violations will also be pursued." Hearing this news, I let out a long sigh of relief. Finally, Chen Ziyuan got the punishment he deserved. "Thank you, brother," I said sincerely. "Don't thank me. He got what was coming to him." Su Beichen paused. Wan, are you okay?" "I'm doing great," I smiled. Bro, I've never felt better than I do right now. Honestly, breaking free from Chen Ziyuan has left me feeling more relaxed and liberated than ever before. Now I have my own career, my own life. I don't need to depend on anyone anymore. This feeling is truly wonderful. News of Chen Ziyuan's arrest spread like wildfire. The military compound buzzed with discussions. Some were shocked, some bewildered, while others took secret delight in his misfortune. Yet I remained calm, as if hearing news about a complete stranger. That man who once stirred such conflicting emotions in me now left my heart utterly undisturbed. After staying at my place for a week, Lin Shui said she wanted to leave. Miss Su, thank you for taking care of me these past few days. She packed her luggage. I've already lined up a new job and plan to head south to start fresh. What kind of job? I asked. It's with a security company that needs someone with my professional background, Lin Shui explained. The pay isn't great, but at least it's legitimate work. I nodded. That's good, Lin Shui. I hope you can truly start a new life. I will. Lin Shui looked at me, her eyes filled with sincerity and gratitude. Miss Su, if it weren't for you, I might have already. Let's not talk about that. I waved my hand dismissively. There's still a long road ahead. Cherish the days to come. After seeing Lin Shui off, my life returned to complete tranquility. Our company's business is thriving, and we've just landed a major project to design the headquarters for a publicly listed company. If executed well, this project won't just bring substantial profits but will also significantly boost our company's reputation. I'm fully immersed in my work, thoroughly enjoying how busy I am every day. Director Su, you've been pushing yourself too hard lately, Assistant Wang said with concern. Would you like to take a break? I checked the time. It was already 9 p.m. Why? Time to call it a day, I said, setting down the blueprint and stretching my arms. Stepping out of the office, memories of my past life suddenly flooded back. Back then, my days revolved around waiting for Chen Ziyuan to come home. He was the center of my universe. I now have my own career and clear goals, living a fulfilling and meaningful life. This transformation brings me profound satisfaction. While walking, my phone rang with an unknown number. Miss Su, I'm journalist Wang Wan. I'd like to request an interview with you. An interview? About what? I was a bit puzzled. About you and Chen Ziyuan. Wang Wan's voice was excited. The divorce case involving the military district commander's sister. This is huge news. I frowned and said, sorry, I have no intention of giving an interview. Miss Su, if you stay silent, people will speculate. Instead of letting others spread rumors, it's better for you to clarify the facts yourself. Wang Wan continued to persuade. I've already said I'm not giving any interviews, I said sharply. Please stop bothering me. But this reporter clearly wasn't going to give up easily. Over the next few days, she kept calling me and even came to my office to ambush me. Miss Su, please just give me an interview. Wang Wan stopped me at the company entrance. I promise the coverage will be fair and objective. I told you, I'm not doing any interviews, I said coldly. Please stop pestering me. Can you at least address the rumors circulating out there? Wang Wan persisted. What rumors? Some say you're being sued by Chen Ziyuan because of an affair, while others claim you framed Chen Ziyuan. Wang Wan said, these rumors are damaging to your reputation. I let out a cold laugh. Reporter Wang, do you know what constitutes defamation? If you dare fabricate stories, my lawyers will be contacting you. Wang Wan was taken aback by my words, but still persisted unwillingly. Miss Su, I just want to know the truth. The truth is clearly stated in the court verdict. I cut her off. If you genuinely want to understand, go review the publicly available legal documents. With that, I walked into the company without so much as a backward glance. But this incident served as a wake-up call. I needed to find a way to resolve the public opinion issue once and for all. I called Zhang Yun. Zhang Yun, a journalist, recently contacted me wanting to interview about Chen Ziyuan. How should I handle this? I recommend you don't give any interviews, Zhang Yun said. The more you talk about these matters, the messier they become. The best approach is to let it cool off naturally. But if I stay silent, people will speculate, I said worriedly. Miss Su, your career is flourishing right now, Zhang Yun reassured me. Just focus on your work, time will prove everything. Besides, those who truly know you won't believe the rumors. Zhang Yun was right. I really shouldn't let these distractions get to me. In the days that followed, I became even more focused on my work. The project for that listed company was progressing smoothly, and the client was very pleased with our design proposal. Designer Su, your proposal is truly excellent, the client representative praised effusively. It not only reflects our corporate culture but is also highly practical. Our board of directors unanimously approved it. The success of this project has significantly boosted the company's profile. Soon after, several major clients came knocking on our door. Congratulations, Ms. Sue, the staff exclaimed excitedly. The company is about to take off. Seeing the excited smiles on my employees' faces filled me with a deep sense of accomplishment. Success earned through one's own efforts is more precious than anything. A year later, Wanwan Design had become one of the most renowned design firms in the capital. We moved to a larger office space, and our staff grew to over 30 people that day. While I was reviewing documents for a new project in my office, Secretary Lee knocked and entered, saying, "President Sue, there's a gentleman here to see you." "Who is it?" I asked. "He says he's a friend of yours, surname Shen." I thought for a moment but couldn't recall knowing anyone with that surname. "Let him in." The door opened and a man in his 30s walked in. He was dressed in a well-tailored suit, handsome with an air of refined elegance. "Miss Sue, it's a pleasure to meet you." The man extended his hand. "I'm Shen Haran. I've heard about you from a mutual friend." I shook his hand and said, "Mr. Shen, please have a seat. May I ask what brings you here today?" Shen Haran sat down with a warm smile. "I'd like to commission you to design a house for me." "What kind of house?" I asked. "A villa, around 500 square meters," Shen Haran said. "I've seen your work and really admire your design philosophy." This sounded like a promising project. I pulled out the project questionnaire. "Mr. Shen, could you elaborate on your requirements?" Shen Haran thought for a moment. "I'd like a minimalist overall style, but it should still feel warm and inviting. After all, a home is for living in, not for putting on display." This concept aligns perfectly with my design philosophy. "Do you have a family?" I asked. "We'll need to consider their needs as well." Shen Haran shook his head. "I'm still single, but I'd like this home to accommodate my future family when the time comes." We spoke for over an hour. Shen had clear ideas about what he wanted, which made our conversation particularly productive. "Then it's settled." Shen Haran stood up. "Miss Sue, I look forward to seeing your design proposal. I'll prepare a preliminary draft as soon as possible." I rose to my feet as well. Shen Haran reached the door, then suddenly turned back. "Miss Sue, if you don't mind, I'd like to take you out for a meal. Consider it a celebration of our successful collaboration." The invitation caught me by surprise. "Thank you for your kindness, Mr. Shen, but I generally don't socialize with clients privately." I politely declined. Shen Haran smiled. "I understand. Let's celebrate after the project is completed then." After seeing Shen Haran out, I began working on the design for his villa. This project was quite challenging, as it required striking a balance between minimalism and coziness. After a week of work, I finally came up with a preliminary plan I'm happy with. Called Shen Haran to schedule a time to review the plan. "Miss Sue, you're incredibly efficient," Shen Haran said, sounding pleased. "How about tomorrow afternoon?" "Sure, let's make it 3 p.m. tomorrow." Shen Haran arrived at the company on time the following afternoon. I gave him a detailed presentation of the design plan. "The living room design is excellent," Shen Haran remarked, pointing at the blueprint. "It feels both spacious and cozy." "Thank you," I continued. "The master bedroom's design takes both natural lighting and privacy into account, and the bathroom features a wet-dry separation." Shen Haran listened attentively, nodding in agreement from time to time. "Miss Sue, your design has completely exceeded my expectations," Shen Haran said with satisfaction after reviewing the proposal. "I've decided to go with this plan." "Are there any other areas that need revision?" I asked. "Not for now. You've been very thorough in your considerations," Shen Haran replied. "By the way, approximately how long will the project timeline be?" "From start to finish, it should take about 4 months," I replied. "All right. That works for me." Shen Haran paused thoughtfully. "Miss Sue, may I ask you a personal question, if you don't mind?" I grew slightly wary. "What is it?" "Why did you choose to become a designer?" Shen Haran's gaze was sincere. "What I mean is, with your family background, you could have easily chosen a more comfortable lifestyle." "This question reminds me of the past. I want to prove my worth," I answered truthfully. "I don't want to always depend on others. I want to have my own career." Shen Haran nodded and said, "I really admire your mindset. Women today should all have that kind of independent spirit." That statement made me think slightly better of Shen Haran. At the very least, he understood women's desire for independence. "Mr. Shen, if there are no further questions, let's proceed with signing the contract," I said. After signing the contract, Shen Haran extended that invitation again. "Miss Sue, now that we're official partners, may I take you to dinner?" Logically speaking, taking A client out for a meal after finalizing a project is standard business etiquette. Okay, I nodded. Shinharan chose an upscale restaurant with an elegant ambience. Miss Su, how long have you been running your own business? Shinharan inquired. A little over a year, I replied. Achieving so much in just over a year is truly remarkable, Shinharan said sincerely, having been in business for over a decade. I know firsthand how challenging entrepreneurship can be. What kind of business are you in? I asked curiously. Investments, Shinharan replied simply, primarily in physical industries. We talked at length, and I found Shinharan to be both remarkably knowledgeable and genuinely engaging in conversation. Before I knew it, we had been talking for over 2 hours. Sorry to have taken up so much of your time, Shinharan glanced at his watch. Time really flies. No problem at all, I enjoyed it too, I said. That was the truth. It had been a long time since I had such a pleasant conversation with someone. Miss Su, if you don't mind, I'd love to stay in touch, Shinharan said. I have some experience in design myself. Perhaps I could offer insights for your work. After a moment's thought, I nodded. That would be nice. As we left the restaurant, Shinharan insisted on seeing me home. No need, I drove here myself, I replied. I'll follow you to make sure you get home safely, Shinharan said in a gentlemanly manner, though I didn't think it was necessary. I still accepted his kind gesture. His car followed behind mine the whole way, only leaving after I entered the residential complex. When I got home, I was in a very good mood. Shinharan gives me a really good impression. He seems like a genuine friend worth keeping. Of course, just as a friend. After what happened with Chen Ziyuan, I'm not looking to get involved in a relationship for now. Right now, I just want to focus on my career and enjoy living life on my own terms. Over the next few months, Shinharan's villa project progressed smoothly. He often came to the company to check on the progress, and each time he would chat with me for a while. I found Shinharan to be a fascinating person. He was well-traveled and knowledgeable, with unique insights on many topics. Miss Su, your company has grown so quickly, Shinharan remarked, watching the busy employees in the office. To reach this scale in just over a year, we still have work to do, I said modestly. Do you have any development plans? Shinharan inquired. After a moment's thought, I replied. We aim to become one of the top 3 design firms in the capital within 3 years. That's an excellent goal, Shinharan nodded, but rapid growth requires substantial funding. Have you considered seeking investment, financing? I was taken aback. Exactly, with your company's current growth momentum, proper funding could significantly accelerate expansion, Shinharan analyzed, like opening branch offices, hiring more talent, and taking on larger projects. This suggestion gave me pause for thought. It's true, the main constraint on our company's growth right now is capital. We had to pass on many major projects we wanted to take on due to insufficient funding. Mr. Shen, do you think our company has potential for financing? I asked. Absolutely, Shinharan affirmed. Your company has strong growth prospects and sound financials, fully meeting investment criteria. Could you recommend any investment institutions? Shinharan smiled. Ms. Su, actually I work in investments. If you're open to it, I'd be interested in investing in your company. The proposal took me completely by surprise. You want to invest in my company? Yes, Shinharan said earnestly. I'm always looking for promising ventures, and your company is exactly the type I believe in. I've given careful thought to Shinharan's proposal. While financing would address our capital needs for company growth, it also means relinquishing some equity. Mr. Shen, what are your terms? I inquired. I'll invest 10 million for a 30% stake in the company, Shinharan stated. You'll remain the controlling shareholder and retain full authority over daily operations. I'm purely a financial investor and won't be involved in management. These terms are quite reasonable. 10 million in funding is enough to support the company's development for the next few years, and with Shinharan only taking 30% equity, I'll still retain absolute control. I need to think it over, I said. Of course, such an important decision deserves careful consideration. Shinharan understood completely. Please feel free to contact me whenever you've reached a decision. That evening, I told Su Baichen about the matter. Wan, are you sure this Shinharan is trustworthy? Su Baichen sounded concerned. From our interactions, he seems to be a legitimate businessman, I said, and his terms are quite reasonable. Su Baichen pondered for a moment. All right then, I'll have someone look into his background. We'll make a decision once we confirm there are no issues. Okay, I nodded. A few days later, Su Baichen called me. Wan, we've finished looking into that Shinharan. What did you find out? I asked. His background is clean, Su Baichen said. He's indeed in the investment business, owns several companies, and has substantial financial resources. He also has a good reputation with no history of deceiving business partners. Hearing this put my mind at ease. Then I'll discuss the specific details of the collaboration with him. Alright, but let me know if any issues come up, Su Baichen reminded. The next day, I reached out to Shen Haoran on my own initiative. Mr. Shen, we should discuss the investment matter in detail. Excellent. Shen Haoran's voice brimmed with excitement. Let's schedule an in-person meeting. The negotiation proceeded very smoothly. Shen Haoran's requests are actually quite modest. He mainly wants a seat on the board and veto power over major decisions. Miss Su, I'm asking for these rights primarily to protect my investment, Shen Haoran explained, but I assure you, I won't interfere with the company's day-to-day operations. I understand his concerns, and these requests fall within reasonable bounds. No problem, I agreed. On the day of signing the investment agreement, Shen Haoran brought along his lawyer and financial advisor. Miss Su, I look forward to a successful partnership. Shen Haoran extended his hand, looking forward to working together. I shook his hand. After securing the investment, the company embarked on a rapid expansion. We leased a larger office space and hired more designers and project managers. At the same time, we began taking on larger projects, such as shopping mall and hotel design. Boss Su, the projects we're landing are becoming increasingly upscale, Project Manager Zhang said excitedly. This 5-star hotel project alone has a budget of 20 million. Watching the company's rapid growth, I felt a deep sense of accomplishment. I built all of this with my own hands, without relying on anyone. Shen Haoran also visited the company frequently, but true to his word, he never interfered with specific operational decisions. Miss Su, your management skills are truly impressive, Shen Haoran observed the bustling office. The company has undergone such remarkable changes in just a few short months. It's all thanks to the team, I said modestly. While teamwork is certainly important, the role of the leader is even more crucial, Shen Haoran remarked. Ms. Su, I'm increasingly grateful for the investment decision we made back then. As the company continues to grow, we've started considering the possibility of opening branch offices. Ms. Su, I propose we establish our first branch in Shanghai, Shen Haoran suggested during the board meeting. The market there is substantial, and we already have some existing client connections in the area. That suggestion makes a lot of sense. Alright, let's get the ball rolling on setting up the Shanghai branch, I decided. 6 months later, the Shanghai branch officially opened its doors. On opening day, I flew to Shanghai personally to host the ceremony. Congratulations, Mr. Su. The venue was buzzing with clients and business partners who had turned out in full force. Watching the Wanwan design sign illuminate the Shanghai waterfront filled me with a surge of pride. It took me less than 2 years to grow from a small startup to our current scale. This sense of accomplishment was something I never experienced in my previous marriage. When I returned to the capital, I discovered a fresh bouquet of flowers in the office. Who sent these? I asked my secretary, Shaoli. They're from President Shen, to congratulate you on the successful opening of the Shanghai branch, Shaoli replied. He also left a card. I picked up the card and read it. Congratulations, President Su, looking forward to our next collaboration. This puzzled me. Next collaboration? Aren't we already working together? Just as I was thinking. Shen Haoran called. Ms. Su, did the opening of the Shanghai branch go smoothly? Very smoothly, thank you for the flowers, I said, but what did you mean by next time we cooperate? On the card, Shen Haoran laughed over the phone. Ms. Su, I'd like to invite you to participate in a new project. What project? It's a design project for a large commercial complex, with a total investment of 5 billion. Shen Haoran's voice brimmed with excitement. If we can secure this project, your firm will break into the ranks of the country's top design companies. A 5 billion project, that is certainly tempting. What are the specifics? I asked. Let's discuss this in detail tomorrow. It's hard to explain over the phone, Shen Haoran said. The next day, Shen Haoran came to my office accompanied by an unfamiliar middle-aged man. Miss Su, allow me to introduce Mr. Zhao Huayuan, chairman of Huayuan Group, Shen Haoran said. Huayuan Group, I'd heard of them. They're one of the top 10 real estate developers in the country. Ms. Su, I've long admired your reputation. Zhao Huayuan extended his hand. I've seen the projects you've designed. They're quite distinctive. You're too kind, Chairman Zhao. I shook his hand. Zhao Huayuan produced some documents. Ms. Su, our conglomerate is planning to develop a large commercial complex in Beijing, including shopping malls, office towers, and hotels. For this project, We're hoping to secure the most outstanding designer to bring it to life. I took the documents and reviewed them. The project scope was indeed massive. Chairman Zhao, may I ask why your company selected us for this project? I inquired directly. Zhao Huayuan smiled and said, first, we truly admire your portfolio. Second, General Manager Shen gave you a strong recommendation. Third, we want to support local design firms. That explanation sounded perfectly reasonable. What's the proposed timeline for the project? I asked. Starting now. We'll have 3 months for conceptual design, 6 months for detailed design, and 2 years of construction support, Zhao Huayuan said. The design fee is 80 million. 80 million. This is the biggest project our company has ever landed. I need to discuss this with my team, I said. Of course, a project of this scale certainly warrants careful consideration, Zhao Huayuan acknowledged. However, we do hope to finalize this soon. As we're scheduled to begin next week. After seeing Zhao Huayuan off, I immediately convened a high-level meeting. This project is crucial for our company, I told the team. If we successfully complete it, both our reputation and capabilities will reach new heights. Design Director Wang expressed concern. General Manager Su, this project is indeed attractive, but do we have the capacity to take it on? What do you mean? I asked. Projects of this caliber are typically handled by internationally renowned design firms, Lao Wang explained. While we're growing rapidly, our experience is still somewhat limited. Lao Wang's concerns were not unfounded. This is indeed a challenge. Lao Wang, what do you think is our biggest obstacle? I asked. Talent and experience, Lao Wang said bluntly. A major project like this requires highly experienced designers, and our current team might not be up to the task. I thought for a moment. What if we hire experienced designers from outside? We could try that, but the cost would be high. Lao Wang replied. Cost isn't the issue, what matters is whether we can deliver quality work, I said firmly. If we miss this opportunity, who knows when the next one will come along. After 2 hours of team discussion, we ultimately decided to take on the challenge. I called Zhao Huayuan. Chairman Zhao, we've decided to take on this project. Excellent, Zhao Huayuan said cheerfully. Ms. Su, we have full confidence in you. On the day we signed the design contract, I felt an unprecedented level of pressure. An 80 million design fee comes with immense responsibility. Ms. Su, feeling the pressure, Shenharan noticed my tension. There is some pressure, I admitted, but more than anything, I'm thrilled. I'm confident you'll excel, Shenharan encouraged, and I'll support you every step of the way. After the project kicked off, I went on a hiring spree to recruit top talent. We brought in senior designers returning from overseas, project managers poached from renowned companies, and various specialized consultants. In just 1 month, the company doubled in size again. Boss Su, you're turning this company into the aircraft carrier of the design world, the employees joked. But I know this project leaves no room for the slightest carelessness. To ensure the design quality, I've been working late into the night almost every day. Ms. Su, your health won't be able to hold up if you keep going like this, Shenharan said with a pang of concern. Seeing how haggard I looked, it's alright. Things will get better once the project stabilizes, I replied. Shenharan pondered for a moment and said, how about this? Let me help take some of the administrative workload off your hands. But didn't you say you wouldn't interfere with operations? I asked, puzzled. This isn't interference, it's assistance, Shenharan explained. I have experience managing large projects and can help coordinate between departments. After some thought, I agreed to his proposal honestly. With the company having grown to this scale, managing everything single-handedly has become quite overwhelming. With Shenharan's assistance, the pressure of my workload has eased considerably. His managerial skills are truly impressive. He handles interdepartmental coordination with remarkable finesse. Mr. Shen, did you happen to work in design before? I asked curiously one day. I studied architectural design in college, but switched to investment after graduation, Shenharan said, so I still have some understanding of the design industry. No wonder he's so familiar with our work. 3 months later, the conceptual design proposal was finally completed. Director Su, this proposal is truly outstanding. The team members were all thrilled. I felt a surge of accomplishment as I looked at the 3D render on my computer screen. This design masterfully blends modern and traditional elements, achieving both contemporary style and cultural depth. We're presenting to the client tomorrow. Let's do one final check, I reminded the team on the day of the presentation. All the top executives from Huayuan Group were in attendance. I spent a solid 2 hours walking through the design concept and proposal in detail. Ms. Su, this proposal has exceeded our expectations, Zhao Huayuan remarked with a satisfied nod after reviewing it. Your team is truly professional. The other executives also voiced their agreement. The proposal was approved, I asked, hardly able to believe it. Not only was it approved, but we've decided to increase the investment, Zhao Huayuan said. The original budget was 5 billion, now it's been raised to 8 billion. Accordingly, the design fees will also increase. This news thrilled me beyond words. As we stepped out of the meeting room, Shenharan patted my shoulder and said, "Congratulations, Ms. Su, thank you for your help," I said sincerely. "I couldn't have done any of this without you. This achievement is truly well-deserved." Shenharan looked at me with a particular warmth in his eyes. "Miss Su, would you allow me to take you to dinner?" "To celebrate, certainly," I accepted without hesitation. After all, today was genuinely worth celebrating. At the restaurant, Shenharan ordered a bottle of red wine. "To Miss Su's success," he said, raising his glass, "and to our collaboration." I clinked my glass with his. After a few drinks, I felt a pleasant buzz. "Miss Su, may I ask you a personal question?" Shenharan suddenly spoke up. "Do you still believe in love?" Shenharan's gaze was earnest. After Chen Ziyuan's betrayal, I've become somewhat disillusioned with love. "Why do you ask?" I countered. "Because someone as remarkable as you deserves to be cherished." Shenharan's voice was tender. My heart skipped a beat, but I kept my composure. "Mr. Shen, I just want to focus on my career right now." "I understand," Shenharan nodded, "but if you ever decide to start over, I hope you'll give me a chance." That was pretty straightforward. Looking into Shenharan's sincere eyes, I felt a mix of emotions. Shenharan is truly a remarkable man, capable, refined, and considerate. But am I really ready to start a new relationship? "Mr. Shen, let's just be friends for now." In the end, I chose to avoid the issue. Shenharan smiled and said, "Of course, I won't rush you. Time will tell." After returning home, I lay in bed lost in thought for a long time. Perhaps it's time to start considering my romantic life. After all, no matter how successful your career is, it feels lonely without someone to share it with, and Shenharan seems like a pretty good option. The workload has intensified since the project entered the detailed design phase. The entire team is operating at full capacity, and I practically moved into the office. "Mr. Su, you haven't been home for a full week," Secretary Li said with concern. "Your health will suffer if this continues." "It's fine, things will ease up once we get through this phase," I replied, rubbing my tired eyes. Just then, Shenharan walked in carrying an insulated lunchbox. "Miss Su, you skipped dinner again, didn't you?" He placed the container on my desk. "I had the chef prepare your favorites." Opening the lid revealed a carefully arranged nutritious meal inside. "Thank you, but you really shouldn't have gone to all this trouble," I said, feeling somewhat embarrassed. "It's no trouble at all. Your health is what matters most," Shenharan said earnestly. "The project is important, but your well-being comes first." Shenharan has truly been taking very good care of me during this period. He's been supportive not just professionally, but also attentive to my personal needs. "Mr. Shen, thank you for all your help these past weeks," I said sincerely. "We're partners. Helping each other comes with the territory," Shenharan said as he sat down. "Besides, I genuinely hope you'll take good care of your health." Seeing the genuine concern in his eyes, a wave of warmth washed over me. It had been so long since anyone showed me this kind of care. "By the way, I heard your ex-husband was released from prison," Shenharan asked abruptly. This news took me by surprise. "How did you know?" "I have friends in the judicial system who mentioned it in passing." Shenharan's expression turned serious. "Miss Su, you'd better be careful. Has Chen Ziyuan been released from prison?" Doing the math, he should be getting out around now. "He won't dare lay a finger on me," I said, forcing a calm I didn't feel. "Miss Su, from what I've heard, Chen Ziyuan hasn't been behaving well in prison," Shenharan said with concern, "and he's always held a grudge against you and General Su." His words sent a chill down my spine. In my previous life, despite his many flaws, Chen Ziyuan would never have resorted to such extremes. In this life, he ended up behind bars because of me, and it's bound to have changed his state of mind. "I'll be careful," I said. "How about this? I'll arrange for a few bodyguards to protect you," Shenharan suggested. "No need, that's way too over the top," I refused, shaking my head. But I couldn't shake this uneasy feeling. The next day, I called Su Beichen. "Brother, did you hear that Chen Ziyuan was released from prison?" "I know." Su Beichen's voice was heavy. "Wan, you need to be careful these days. Is he really going to harm me?" I asked. Su Beichen was silent for a moment. Wan, Chen Ziyuan has been in contact with some shady characters in prison. I'm worried he might do something reckless. This news genuinely made me nervous. Then what should I do? I'll have someone keep a discreet watch over you, Subachan said. Also, try to avoid being alone as much as possible lately. After hanging up the phone, I felt a heavy weight in my heart. I never expected Chen Ziyuan to turn out like this. Just as I was lost in thought, my assistant Xiao Wang rushed in frantically. Boss Su, something terrible has happened. What's going on? I asked. There's a man downstairs making a scene and demanding to see you, Xiao Wang said. The security guards can't hold him back. My heart tightened. Who is it? He claims to be your ex-husband. It really is Chen Ziyuan. I took a deep breath and walked over to the window to look down. There was indeed a familiar figure standing downstairs. It was Chen Ziyuan, but he had changed a lot. He looked utterly worn out, with hollow eyes. Should we call the police, Mr. Su? Xiao Wang asked. Not yet, I said calmly. Let him come up. It's fine, we're in the office. He wouldn't dare cause trouble, I said. A few minutes later, Chen Ziyuan appeared at the door of my office. Seeing him like this still came as a shock to me. In just 2 short years, he seemed to have aged a decade. Wan, Chen Ziyuan's voice was hoarse. Can we talk? Come in. I motioned for him to sit down. Chen Ziyuan glanced around the luxurious office, a flicker of complex emotions in his eyes. I never expected you to achieve so much, he said. Just tell me what this is about. I had no intention of exchanging pleasantries with him. After a moment of silence, Chen Ziyuan spoke again. Wan, I want us to get back together. That almost made me laugh out loud. Get back together, Chen Ziyuan. Are you out of your mind? I said coldly. I know I was wrong before, but I've really changed. Chen Ziyuan's tone was sincere. Wan, can we start over? Chen Ziyuan, listen carefully. I stood up, looking down at him. It's completely over between us. No matter how much you change, I will never get back together with you. Chen Ziyuan's expression darkened. Why? Because of that Shenharan. My heart skipped a beat at the mention of Shenharan's name. You'd been investigating me. Of course I investigated. A venomous glint flashed in Chen Ziyuan's eyes. Wan, did you really think I wouldn't know about your relationship with Shenharan? Mr. Shen and I are merely business partners, I clarified. Business partners, Chen Ziyuan sneered. Then why is he so kind to you? Why would he invest in your company? His words stirred a flicker of anger within me. Chen Ziyuan, who I associate with, is my own affair and none of your business, I said coldly. Now, please leave my office. I'm not leaving. Chen Ziyuan stood up, his voice trembling with emotion. Wan, how could you abandon me? If you hadn't ruined me back then, why would I have ended up in prison? Ruined you? I was shaking with rage. Chen Ziyuan, you broke the law yourself. How can you possibly blame me? If you hadn't asked for a divorce, I never would have done those things. Chen Ziyuan shouted. This is all your fault. His twisted reasoning left me utterly speechless. Security, I pressed the button on my desk. Soon, 2 security guards rushed in. Please escort this gentleman out, I said coldly. Wan, you'll regret this. Chen Ziyuan threatened me as the guards dragged him out. You're going to regret this. Watching Chen Ziyuan being dragged away, I collapsed into the chair. I never imagined he would become so obsessive. Just then, Shenharan rushed over in a hurry. Miss Su, are you all right? He asked with concern. I heard Chen Ziyuan came to see you. It's fine, I already had security escort them out, I said, forcing a calm tone. Shenharan studied my expression carefully. Miss Su, you don't look well at all. Would you like me to take you home to rest? No need, I still have work to attend to. I declined. Work can wait. Your safety is more important, Shenharan insisted. Besides, you're in no condition to work today. Seeing the concern in Shenharan's eyes, I finally gave in. When I got home, I felt a weariness I'd never experienced before. It wasn't just physical exhaustion, the psychological strain was even heavier. Chen Ziyuan's reappearance made me realize the shadows of the past still lingered. Miss Su, please rest first. I'll wait in the living room, Shenharan said considerately. There's no need to stay with me. Please go attend to your own matters, I said. I'm not comfortable leaving you home alone, Shenharan insisted. What if Chen Ziyuan comes back to cause trouble? After a moment's thought, I didn't refuse again. Honestly, I wouldn't feel comfortable leaving you home alone either. That evening, Shenharan insisted on staying overnight. I can just sleep on the sofa, he said. That way you can call me if you need anything. Watching everything Shenharan was doing for me, I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. Thank you, Mr. Shen, I said sincerely. Miss Su, there's no need for such formality between us, Shenharan said gently. Your safety means a great deal to me. His words struck a chord in my heart. Perhaps it was time to seriously consider my relationship with Shinharan. After what happened with Chen Ziyuan, I've come to cherish the people who genuinely care about me even more, and Shinharan is undoubtedly the most important one among them. The next morning, I woke up to find that Shinharan had already prepared breakfast. "You're up so early," I said, somewhat surprised. "I'm an early riser," Shinharan said with a smile, "and I wanted to make you breakfast." Looking at the lavish breakfast spread, I felt a warmth in my heart. "Mr. Shen, are you really treating me this way just because of our professional relationship?" I suddenly asked. Shinharan was taken aback for a moment, then replied candidly, "Of course not, Miss Su. I thought I'd made myself quite clear." "Well, I love you," Shinharan said without hesitation. "I've been drawn to you since the moment we first met." The confession came abruptly, yet it wasn't entirely unexpected. I had long sensed Shinharan's affection for me, but I just went through a failed marriage. I hesitated. "I understand, I can wait," Shinharan said gently. "Miss Su, I won't rush your decision. I just want you to know I'll always be here for you." Looking into Shinharan's sincere eyes, the last of my defenses finally crumbled. "Mr. Shen," I began to speak, but my phone suddenly rang. It was Su Baichen on the phone, his voice urgent. "1-1. Come to the hospital right now. Grandpa's had an accident." My mind went completely blank at the news. Seeing my state, Shinharan immediately drove me to the hospital. My hands wouldn't stop trembling the entire way. "Old man Su is the closest person to me in this world. Nothing can happen to him." When we arrived at the hospital, Su Baichen was waiting at the entrance of the emergency department. "Brother, what's wrong with Grandpa?" I asked anxiously. "Sudden heart attack." Su Baichen's face was grim. "He's in the emergency room right now." My legs went weak instantly, and I nearly collapsed. Shinharan caught me just in time. "Miss Su, you must stay strong." Every minute spent waiting outside the emergency department felt like an eternity. Finally, the doctor emerged from the resuscitation room. "Doctor, how's my grandfather?" I asked urgently. The doctor shook his head. "I'm sorry, we've done everything we could." His words hit me like a bolt from the blue. Just like that, old Master Su was gone. I could no longer hold back my emotions, clinging to Shinharan as I broke down sobbing. "In my past life, my grandfather passed away too soon, and I never got to properly be there for him in this life. Even though we had more time together, I still couldn't keep him with me. Miss Su, please accept my condolences," Shinharan said softly, gently stroking my back. "Your grandfather's spirit wouldn't want to see you like this." Su Baichen's eyes welled up with tears, but he had to hold them back and deal with the aftermath. "1-1, we need to arrange Grandpa's funeral. I'll take care of it." I wiped away my tears and forced myself to calm down. Grandpa loved me the most. I want to give him a dignified funeral. In the following days, I was busy handling old Master Su's funeral arrangements. Shinharan stayed by my side the whole time, helping me handle all sorts of matters. "Mr. Shen, thank you for all your help these past few days," I said to him after the funeral. "Miss Su, there's no need for formalities between us." Shinharan took my hand. "How are you feeling now?" "Much better." I took a deep breath. "Mr. Shen, about what you said earlier, no need to rush your answer," Shinharan said understandingly. "Take your time to think it over." "I don't need to think," I said, looking into his eyes. "Shinharan, I want to be with you." A flicker of joy passed through Shinharan's eyes at this response. "Miss Su, are you certain about this?" "I'm certain," I nodded. "Your care these past few days has shown me what true compassion means. I think it's time for me to make a fresh start." Shinharan embraced me fervently. "Miss Su, thank you for giving me this chance. I vow to cherish you for the rest of my life." Held in his arms, I felt a sense of security I'd never known before. Perhaps this is the happiness I've been searching for all along. Story 2. Not long after I died, my childhood friend, a genius who had been directly admitted to a chemistry program at a top university, committed suicide. No one expected him, always so calm and composed, to go to the extreme of tying up the person who hurt me and, in a reckless act, detonating a bomb. As the sky lit up with flames, he murmured in despair, "Yen Yen, wait for me." When I opened my eyes again, I was back in my senior year of high school, the year we were not speaking to each other. My desk mate leaned over with a grin and whispered in my ear, "Song Yang, I just saw Lin Shui's draft paper filled with your name, when I encountered a wild animal on the mountain." My best friend instinctively pushed me out as bait. I tumbled down the slope, my leg smashing against a tree, causing an immediate, piercing pain. "I'm so sorry, Song Yang. I will always remember you," she said, as the wild animal's attention turned to me. Gritting her teeth, she quickly fled with her boyfriend, leaving me behind with broken legs. lying at the bottom of the slope waiting to die. Damn it, love-struck fool. Just yesterday she talked about breaking up, and today she pushes me to the beasts, with no one around. I endured the pain and pulled out my phone, only to see it was almost out of battery, a sense of despair washing over me. This is it, I might be about to meet my great-grandmother. For some reason, maybe subconsciously, or perhaps because I just couldn't give up, I dialed Lin Su, with whom I had been at odds for a year. He answered immediately after just one ring. Hello, Lin Su's voice came through, somewhat cold. I'm busy, what's up? He was always like this, as if unfazed even if the sky were falling, but if I listened closely, I could detect a slight tremble in his voice when he answered the phone. Just like his inner turmoil, I couldn't help it and burst into tears. Lin Su, I think I'm about to die. After I'm gone, please delete all my chat and browsing history. My bank card is in the pillowcase in my room. The pin is my birthday. There's only 52 yuan left, but consider it a keepsake. Abruptly, I heard the screeching sound of a chair dragging across the floor, and he quickly apologized to the teacher at the lectern before his footsteps hastened. Song Yang, what's happened? I didn't dare tell him my situation, but continued hurriedly. I'm sorry for always fighting with you. It was wrong of me to hit you when we were kids, and the chocolates in your drawer during high school were also stolen by me. I was actually happy when I heard you were admitted early because you're so smart, skipping grades in school. I should have known you're not from my world. You've always been so aloof, never accepting anyone's confession, and I never dared to say that I actually kind of liked you. Before I could finish, he interrupted me. Stop talking, I'm checking your location, wait for me. But it was too late. I watched as the wild animal approached me step by step. In the end, I died from excessive blood loss, only managing to utter, Lin Su, it hurts so much. Before passing away, Lin Su was the first to find my body. I don't know when he installed a tracker on my phone accompanied by the police. He found my body in the mountains the following afternoon under the evening sky. My body, mangled by the wild animal, was barely recognizable, yet he recognized me in an instant, thanks to the tracker and the necklace I wore around my neck. Seeing my body, he completely broke down. In all the years I knew him, I had never seen him lose control like that, always so composed and cool, with a clean, serene face. He had always been the exemplary child of others. Though 2 years younger, he skipped grades and was eventually directly admitted to a top university's chemistry program. The gap between us was immense, yet, a year later, he disregarded everyone's objections. He cradled my lifeless body, his eyes red from crying. Later, he asked everyone around me and found out that I had gone hiking that day with my best friend and her boyfriend, but in the end, they returned alive, while I was left dead, mauled by wild beasts. Driven mad with grief, he confronted the two, demanding to know why they had abandoned me. My guilty best friend and her boyfriend insisted that I had accidentally gotten separated from them. He knew that my death was inextricably linked to these two. Not long after, an explosion occurred at an abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city, killing 2 men and a woman, 2 cowards who abandoned their friend, and one promising genius from a chemistry academy. He personally kidnapped them and made a bomb himself, choosing to exact revenge for me by dying together with them. Amidst the blaze, he murmured in despair, Yang, wait for me. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in the high school classroom. Lin Su, who had just been admitted to a university based on his exceptional performance, was standing in front of my desk. He wore a clean school uniform, his slightly long bangs covering his forehead, and behind his thin-framed glasses were eyes as clear as a cold spring. Song Yang. He called my name and casually asked, did you eat the chocolate in my drawer? I stared at him, stunned. A few seconds later, I vigorously nodded. Yes, it was me. So what? Lin Su paused for a second, then he suddenly averted his gaze, unable to look at me. You know about it. What? I didn't understand at first. In my past life, I indeed ate the chocolate he had kept in his drawer at that time. Confessing by giving chocolate was popular, and when I found the chocolate, I thought it was from some girl who liked him. After all, he was handsome and smart, although somewhat aloof. With his reputation for brilliance, he had charmed many admirers, and many girls confessed to him every term. In a moment of jealousy, I stole the chocolate and gobbled it up. Later, when he asked me about it, I denied everything out of guilt and secretly bought an identical chocolate to replace it. In this new life, I decided to bravely admit my mistake. I'm sorry, it was me who ate it. Don't be mad, I'll buy you another one. It wasn't on purpose, I was just jealous. I confessed earnestly, unexpectedly. As Lin Su listened, his ears turned red. "I'm not mad at you," he said through gritted teeth. Seeing my still confused expression, he seemed a bit exasperated. Just then, the bell rang for class, and he didn't look at me again, only muttering, "Forget it, you've eaten it, no need to replace it." Then he turned and went back to his seat, leaving me dumbfounded at mine. Turning my head, my deskmate looked at me teasingly. "Oh, flirting with your childhood sweetheart again, in my past life." It was the same, knowing that Lin Su and I were childhood sweethearts. Classmates always joked about us. Every time, I would angrily deny it, which only made Lin Su more distant. Cough. I coughed twice, admitting that I had indeed put on an act before. "What, jealous?" my deskmate, shocked. "Wow, Song Yang, you've really thickened your skin." Humph. Thinking back to my past life, where he had died alongside those who had wronged me to avenge me, this earth-shattering commitment of a childhood sweetheart, I feel he might like me more than I had imagined. Reflecting on this, I suddenly remembered that it was on the day I received my direct admission notice in my previous life that I had a big argument with him, which led to a cold war that lasted a year. Looking back, it seems that my adolescent insecurities were haunting me. Lin Su and I grew up together. Although he was 2 years older, he always seemed more mature, always by my side like a big brother. It wasn't until the direct admission notice arrived that I truly realized the extent of the gap between him and me. It was vast and seemingly insurmountable. After that day, a prolonged cold war began between us. It was more like a one-sided sulk where I simply stopped interacting with him. Every morning when I arrived at the classroom, he would still habitually place a bottle of hot milk at the corner of my desk. New notes would appear in my drawer from time to time, each one tailored to my weaknesses. On countless nights after evening self-study, he would silently follow me on his bicycle, dispelling the fear of walking home in the dark. Until a year later, through my own efforts, I managed to get into his school. Though I was barely admitted, no one knew how I lay on my bed that day, crying until I was out of breath. It was a battle with no end in sight, like a relentless march over a narrow bridge, the pressure constantly suffocating me. On many nights, I would break down crying from the stress of solving problems, yet I dared not waste time and had to suppress my sobs. While continuing to work, at such moments, I would often run to the balcony with red eyes to steal a glance at the light in the study room next door. He was there, so, even if it took everything I had, I wanted to get closer to him. Returning to the senior year classroom, I still dared not waste a single second. In my previous life, an accident occurred during a mountain hike with my best friend after the freshman military training had ended. The training had just finished, and I didn't really want to go out because I had gotten tanned, but I couldn't resist my best friend's coaxing. Since we would be in different cities for college and opportunities to meet would be rare, I agreed to go. Unexpectedly, her academically average boyfriend, who had only managed to get into a community college, also insisted on coming along. Despite our reluctance, there we were, so we climbed the mountain together. Looking back, there were signs all along. For instance, every time I scored higher than her in our monthly tests during senior year, she would lash out at me, only to apologize later, claiming it was the stress affecting her emotions. Whenever she had a fight with her boyfriend, she would come to me in tears. I would feel sorry for her and advise her to break up. In front of me, she would agree, but then she would reconcile with him behind my back, even lying about her whereabouts, expecting me to cover for her. And whenever I had an argument with Lin Su, she would relentlessly undermine my self-esteem, manipulate me into seeing the gap between him and me, making me feel unworthy of confessing my feelings to Lin Su. But aren't true friends supposed to wish for your happiness? Such friends aren't really friends, they're more like accomplices to your downfall. So when the bell rang, and Liang Xiao rushed to my seat like countless times before, expertly hooking her arm through mine and chirpily suggesting, "Come on, let's go to the cafeteria and grab some sweet and sour ribs," I unexpectedly shook off her hand. Meeting her surprised gaze, I responded coldly, "You grab it yourself, I'm not going." After that, I didn't wait to see her reaction, but turned to buy a rice ball from the kiosk and returned to the classroom. I still had time. In my senior year, in my previous life, I barely passed the admission line, never daring to dream of choosing a popular major. Getting accepted is already a stroke of luck, but things are different now, as I have a childhood friend who's a genius at school. After hesitating for a moment, I decided to wait for Lin Su at his seat. The classroom was empty at the moment, and as I approached his desk, I glanced unintentionally into his drawer. There, I saw a familiar package again. It was the same type of chocolate that I had eaten before. Me, damn it, who is it? When Lin Su returned, he found me fiercely biting into a rice ball with one hand and holding the chocolate in the other. Lin Su, without a word, he sat down beside me, took out a paper from my drawer, and started writing. Seeing this, I got even angrier. Alright, playing it cool, huh? Damn it, I'll just eat. I furiously finished the rice ball and chocolate, tasting the bitter flavor of the dark chocolate spreading from my mouth to my heart, while my mind automatically played some background music. Which song should I choose? Suddenly, I heard the sound of rummaging through a pocket next to me, followed by a bottle of warm milk with a straw pushed towards me on the desk. It was December, and the temperature was barely a few degrees, but the milk was still steaming hot from being in his pocket. Accompanied by his cool voice, he said, "I never realized you liked chocolate so much before. You say that again." I snatched the milk and took a big gulp. "Ah, that cuts the grease. Don't worry, I'll compensate you with 4 pieces. "Oh, it's fine, you eat," he said indifferently while continuing with his work. My dad brought back a large box from a business trip. "If you want, there's more at my house." "Huh, oh wow, look who's grown up and learned to lie. Why would you carry 2 pieces of chocolate for no reason? One was for you." He stopped writing, turned to look at me. "The other was for tomorrow, to give to you." Damn, pulling that move, and it's surprisingly heart-fluttering. When my desk mate and her sister came back from lunch, they saw me sitting next to Lin Su, listening intently as he explained a problem. Surprised, my desk mate couldn't resist teasing, "Look at that, it seems that the young man from the Song family is tutoring his little wife." I looked up at her and raised an eyebrow. "Even if you say that, I'm not going to leave him." My desk mate and her sister were stunned. "Alright, you two are perfect for each other, a match made in heaven. And you'd better not ever split up if you can't have kids." I've heard such teasing before and didn't take it seriously. I turned my head wanting Lin Su to continue explaining, but the next second I froze when I saw his face. His usually cool and clean face was now slightly flushed. As our eyes met, he quickly looked away, his pen drawing an unintended arc on the scratch paper without his notice. "Song Yang," he called my name softly, sounding a bit flustered, opened his mouth, but didn't know what else to say. "What's wrong?" I said nonchalantly. "Don't mind her, they just enjoy making such jokes." Because Lin Su usually keeps a stern face and has the aura of a scholarly god around him, people usually don't dare joke with him, and Lin Su himself was unaware that he had a nickname, the Little Wife Raiser. Before, I was always quick to deny, seemed to deliberately disassociate himself from me loudly in front of others, which only led to Lin Su becoming increasingly distant from me. I thought. He paused, turned his head, his fingers unconsciously tapping the cap of his pen. "I thought you hated me. That's why you wanted to distance yourself from me." So, he no longer dared to be very close to me in public. The hot milk at the corner of the table every morning, the notes organized in the drawer according to my weaknesses, and the silent 3-meter distance he kept after evening self-study classes, all of these were his ways of maintaining the greatest distance possible from me. Damn, what kind of pure-hearted puppy is this? Suddenly, I was reminded of my childhood in kindergarten. I told my mom more than once that I hated the boy next door because he walked slowly and was prone to falling, looked like a doll despite being a boy, and was always bullied by other kids. Because of him, I often ended up fighting with other children. Yet, despite this, he would still show up punctually in front of my house the next morning, backpack on, politely calling me sister. The memory of his round, dumpling-like face gradually overlapped with the face of the boy before me. The genius prodigy in everyone's eyes was nothing more than the childhood friend who grew up with me. When the bell for class rang, I returned to my seat, and my deskmate Jiang Yuan leaned in and whispered, "What's going on? Have you two finally stopped being awkward with each other?" "What awkwardness?" I pretended not to know what she was talking about. Alright, it wasn't awkwardness, just your little trick to lure him in." After saying this, she suddenly changed the subject, mysteriously saying, "Song Yang, guess what I saw?" I was so startled that I immediately turned to look at the back door, then breathed a sigh of relief. Good, the teacher hadn't arrived. "What is it?" I turned back and asked irritably. "Last week during the chemistry exam, while I was helping the teacher collect the papers, I accidentally saw Lin Su's draft paper. It was full of your name. If the bell hadn't already rung, she would have probably turned into a screaming chicken," shaking me vigorously. "You didn't see Lin Su's reaction at the time. He was both embarrassed and flustered, and quickly hid it, telling me not to let you know." She shook me until I was also somewhat flustered. "Then why are you telling me? Come on, what's our relationship? Besides, you should just secretly be happy about this, Lin the god. Hearing this, I instinctively turned my head to look at Lin Su's seat, but the moment our eyes met, he was also looking at me. I don't know how many times this has happened, or maybe I was just used to it. Our eyes met, and he seemed surprised that I would suddenly turn to look at him, his eyes filled with panic as he quickly looked down, pretending to work out a problem, only leaving me to turn back around, feeling the heat in my ears. A crush is an unintentional look back during class that happens to meet his gaze. Turns out, he also steals glances at me, but all this, I had never noticed before. Ignoring my deskmate's teasing gaze, I pretended to be busy, pulling out several textbooks from my drawer, completely unaware that this class was meant for self-study. When evening self-study ended at 10 o'clock as usual, Lin Su quietly followed behind me with his bicycle. Just like when we were in kindergarten, he was 2 years younger than me, always obediently following behind me, like an inseparable little tail. I turned my head to look at him, and he stopped walking. From 3 meters away, I waved him over. Come here, get closer. His eyes lit up, pushing the cart. I quickly caught up. On a winter's night, I walked side by side with him on the way home, the street lights stretching our shadows long. From tomorrow, no, starting tonight, you'll tutor me. My goal is to get into the same university as you. Yen Yen, are you feeling okay? Are you saying I'm out of my mind? No, you're not sick. Then why can you get into University A and I can't? Well, you can. Getting into University A was not just talk. With Lin Su's help, I set up a strict study plan. In my previous life, it was due to exceptional performance in the college entrance exams, plus some luck in choosing preferences, that I barely got accepted. This time around, I want to choose a major I like. With Lin Su, perhaps the heavens gave me a second chance and didn't want me to cheat again. I tried hard but couldn't recall the exam questions I had faced in my previous life, so without much struggle, I began to immerse myself wholeheartedly in studying. Later, when Liang Xiao came looking for me several times, I brushed her off. She thought I was still upset about her losing her temper after the last monthly test, where I scored significantly higher than her by over 20 points. She wanted to brush it off like before, claiming stress, apologizing verbally, but still trying to manipulate me. Although your grades have improved significantly recently, Yen Yen, and I say this only because you're my best friend, you and Lin Su are still worlds apart. He's a genius who skipped grades and got recommended for advancement. Let's not overestimate ourselves. Aha, I nodded noncommittally. Are you done? I need to go find Lin Su to help me with some problems. Seeing that I completely ignored her, Liang Xiao got angry. Fine, if you won't listen to me, then let's not be best friends anymore. She thought I would cajole her like before, but I just nodded, turned around, and went to find Lin Su with my papers. With the experience of my previous life, I dared not mingle with someone obsessed with romance again. I didn't miss the flash of resentment in her eyes as I left, though I didn't know what mischief she was holding back. But with only half a year left until the college entrance exams, I didn't want to waste my precious time on her. Soon it was January, and the end-of-term exams were approaching. Lin Su had been chosen to represent our school in a city-level chemistry competition and had been training one-on-one with a teacher for the past 2 days. It was snowing on the day of the competition. During lunch, I sneaked some time on my phone and saw that a milk tea shop I liked had launched a new product, a winter special, something I had never tried even in my previous life. After all, every time I finished my evening self-study, it was already 10 o'clock, and the milk tea shop was closed. I forwarded the news to Lin Su and then remembered that his competition was at 2 o'clock that afternoon. He must be about to leave, so I didn't wait for his reply and went back to the classroom to nap. For the past half-month, following the study plan, I studied every night until midnight and woke up at 5:30 am to memorize vocabulary, getting only about 5.5 hours of sleep each day. My dark circles were more pronounced than ever. If not for chewing on coffee beans to keep awake, I might have fallen asleep during class. The classroom was warm, and I soon fell asleep. In my sleep, I felt as if someone was watching me. Blinking awake, I saw Lin Su. We had just rearranged the seats last week, and I was now sitting by the window. Through the window pane, dressed in a white down jacket, Lin Su stood outside, probably not wanting to wake me. He just quietly watched me. I don't know for how long. The world outside was shrouded in a blanket of white, the accumulated snow reflecting the winter sunlight. His skin was pale and he wore no scarf, his nose slightly reddened from the cold. When he met my gaze, his eyelashes trembled slightly. I was still leaning on the desk, but my right hand had instinctively reached out the moment my fingertips touched the cold glass. My brain snapped into clarity. I was about to ask why he hadn't come inside when I saw him raise his left hand to cover mine. His clearly defined large hand completely enveloped mine, making my own hand seem delicate in comparison. He slightly curved his lips into a smile, seemingly pleased. Outside, the world was icy and snowy, but the look in his eyes as he gazed at me was so tender, it seemed it could melt the snow even though a cold pane of glass separated us. I inexplicably felt warmth at my fingertips. Suddenly, he leaned forward and breathed on the glass. Instantly, the glass fogged up, obscuring his face. I found it amusing, withdrew my hand, and stood up, carefully navigating around my sleeping deskmate. I went out to meet him, but by the time I pushed open the classroom door, he had already turned and walked away. In the snowy afternoon, the figure in the white down jacket nearly blended into the snowflakes. Left on the windowsill was a cup of packaged milk tea. It was from the tea shop I had just shared with him, their winter special, it seemed. He had kept it close on his way to the school, as the milk tea was still steaming when I held it. Had he really come all the way to school before his match just to bring me this cup of milk tea without even a word? What a silent guy. Feeling cheerful, I lifted the corners of my mouth, ready to take the milk tea back to the classroom, but as I turned and saw the lingering mist on the glass, I froze. Written there, stroke by stroke, were the words "keep going." The light that stayed on late into the night in my room, the 5:30 a.m. alarm, the packets of instant coffee that were torn open, finishing a bundle of pen refills in half a month. He had seen all my efforts. He might not speak sweet nothings or make grand confessions, but he was there, silently supporting me. On that winter afternoon, he stood by the window, watching me sleep, and quietly wrote those two words, "Keep going, come to my side." On the day the final exam scores were released, I made it into the top 10 of my grade for the first time. Our class teacher, Mr. Fong, stood on the podium, his face creased with smiles, his eyes filled with relief as he congratulated me. "Song Yang has made great progress recently. Keep this up and there's hope for you at university and next year. Everyone should learn from Song Yang." Hearing this, before I could even feel happy, my gaze instinctively searched for Lin Su. He was smiling. When our eyes met, he paused for a second, then silently mouthed, "Well done." His praise made me break into a wide smile. Seeing this, others in the class spontaneously let out a surprised "oh." My deskmate, Jian Yuan, leaned in and whispered as before, "I'm so jealous. I wish I had a childhood friend guaranteed a spot at University A to help me with questions too." Jealousy won't help. I tried to keep a straight face, but couldn't contain the smile in my eyes. "He's mine." All right. We're all planning to celebrate New Year's Eve together. Remember to bring your Lin Shueshan with you. She emphasized the word yours. Hearing this, I realized that nearly 2 months had passed since my rebirth. New Year's Eve. In my past life at this time, Lin Su and I were still not on speaking terms. I feared it would be awkward running into him at the class reunion, so I didn't go on New Year's Eve. Later, I found out that Lin Su didn't go either. He stayed away because he was worried I would feel awkward. That's just like him, always quietly looking out for me in his own way. Thinking it over, I sent him an invite on my way home. "Okay." He agreed immediately but then hesitated. "I have to visit my grandma that night, though. Is it okay if you go ahead by yourself? Do I really need you to babysit me?" He didn't respond, just turned to look at me. It then dawned on me that since my rebirth, I had indeed been sticking close to him every day. Never mind, I'll just go on New Year's Eve. I dressed in my newly bought clothes and set out for the meeting. It started snowing heavily on the way, and I worried about the return trip. When I arrived, I was surprised to find Liang Xiao had brought 2 guys along. One was her college boyfriend from her past life, Chen Fei, and the other was his best friend, Wang Xiang. Both were from the class next door and known troublemakers, regularly skipping classes to go online. They were the ones always giving apologies under the national flag each month. Chen Fei was somewhat handsome and skilled at sweet talking, which not only won Liang Xiao over, but also led him to pass a love note to me on behalf of Wang Xiang before the college entrance exams. Allegedly, Lin Su was out of my league, and I would be better off with his girlfriend's best friend, hinting at double dates in the future. I was so frightened at the time that I immediately declined, yet she insisted it was well intended. Looking back, she clearly intended to disrupt my focus before the exams. Truly despicable. I thought more people would make it merrier, so I brought them along. Hope no one minds, Liang Xiao said with a smile. Hearing this, the other classmates couldn't say much. We had agreed on going Dutch, so, out of courtesy for Liang Xiao, No one pushed the issue. I avoided looking their way again and quickly sat down next to Jiang Yuan. Jiang Yuan leaned in and whispered, "You did the right thing breaking it off with her. Does she even listen to reason when she's in love? Please tell her to eat something good for once." "Right," I smirked. Those two had been inseparable since they arrived, whispering sweet nothings, while Wang Xiang leered at the girls in our class. When our eyes accidentally met, he gave me a sly, familiar smile. Ugh, I felt even more uncomfortable. Soon, the room filled up, and the class monitor started organizing games. The game was the classic truth or dare. Since we were still in our senior year and some of us were underage, there was no alcohol. Losers could choose between juice or water. As classmates who saw each other day in and day out, we all knew who the couples in the making were, so the game was played with a bit of matchmaking. Laughter filled the room until I drew the card that meant punishment. In this round, Liang Xiao was the one who had to assign the punishment. "Well, what to do? Our esteemed scholar Lin Su isn't even here," joked someone. As everyone in the class knew about my relationship with Lin Su, Liang Xiao seemed prepared, even a bit excited. "Song Yang, I won't make it too hard for you. Just hug the person who draws the other punishment card." As she spoke, the room went silent, everyone looking around. Then Wang Xiang, sitting next to Liang Xiao, raised his card and exchanged a knowing look with her, his smile one of triumph. "Sorry, the other punishment card is right here." The room fell silent for a moment, reflecting on what just happened. Liang Zhao's boyfriend, Chen Fei, had volunteered enthusiastically to deal cards, leaving no room for confusion among everyone. Zhang Yang, the class rebel with bleached hair, furrowed his brows and exclaimed in confusion, "Huh, this guy was a unique presence." In our class, thanks to his family's wealth, his father had donated a building to the school upon his admission. Consequently, despite his poor grades and his rebellious dyed hair, and even though he occasionally skipped classes or arrived late, no one dared to reprimand him. "Liang Xiao, are you out of your mind? Why are you siding with outsiders against our own classmates?" he blurted out, causing the rest of the class to frown and look towards Liang Xiao and her group. "Yeah, Liang Xiao, what's going on?" they echoed, noticing her discomfort. Feeling her boyfriend's disapproving gaze, Liang Xiao bit her lip and defended, "It's just a game, right? Everyone took their punishment before, so why can't Song Yang take it now? It's just a hug, nothing serious." Wang Xiang chimed in with a grin as he walked towards me, arms already outstretched. To avoid any misunderstanding, I pushed Jiang Yuan, who tried to shield me, aside. I had already calculated how to deliver a kick that Wang Xiang wouldn't forget. Just then, the door to the room was flung open. Everyone instinctively turned towards the door. Lin Su, dressed in a black down jacket, appeared. Seeing Wang Xiang already close to me, he frowned slightly and quickly approached. Before I could react, he had pulled my arm and positioned me safely behind him. At the same time, Zhang Yang also sprang into action, grabbing Wang Xiang, who was slightly shorter, and pushed him like dominoes, causing both him and the couple behind him, Liang Xiao and Chen Fei, to fall over embarrassingly. "You think you're worthy of her, you toad lusting after swan meat." Zhang Yang was furious. He might be a troublemaker, but he was not foolish and had a strong sense of justice. "Looking like a joke, and you think you deserve a hug from our class's top beauty." As the couple tumbled together, their foolish affection for each other was clear as day. "Who the hell are you?" Liang Zhao's boyfriend, clearly aware of Zhang Yang's status, didn't dare retort and just glared daggers at Lin Su, who was shielding me. Thinking to myself that he was a loose cannon, I suppressed the urge to tell him to stay away if he didn't want trouble, and instead affectionately took Lin Su's arm. "He's the boy next door I grew up with," I said. At this, Lin Su stiffened but didn't pull away. Realizing the situation, the rest of the class started to blame the trio led by Liang Xiao. Liang Xiao, embarrassed, instinctively tried to cling to Chen Fei's arm but was harshly shrugged off. "Aren't I embarrassed enough?" he snapped, glaring at Liang Xiao before quickly leaving the room. Seeing this, Liang Xiao scrambled to her feet and followed him. Only Wang Xiang remained, still pinned down by Zhang Yang, facing his deadly glare and spilling the beans in fear. "It wasn't my idea." Liang Xiao said she had a single friend she wanted to set me up with, he confessed. Hearing this, Lin Su's demeanor turned icy. "Just you?" His words alone made Wang Xiang's face turn beet red. "Fancy thoughts for an ugly guy," Zhang Yang sneered, kicking him. Now, with the room filled with our classmates, Wang Xiang, knowing he was at fault and after being kicked, didn't dare to speak up and just slunk away in disgrace. Everyone looked at me and then at each other, before turning their gaze to Lin Su, whose expression was even colder than usual. it seemed everyone had lost the desire to continue playing around, and they started suggesting that it was getting late and that our steady god should be getting some sleep. They urged me to take him home. Me, am I some kind of dog trainer? With no other choice, I led Lin Su away, but not before shooting Jiang Yuan a look. Don't think I didn't see it. She was the one who messaged Lin Su right before the game started. Catching my gaze, Jiang Yuan gave me a look that said, "Sister, I understand you, huh? So you think you know everything, huh?" I followed Lin Su out of the KTV outside. The heavy snow continued to fall. On New Year's Eve, the streets were nearly empty. "How did you get here?" I asked Lin Su. He didn't reply. The unmelted snowflakes on his shoulders answered for him. In the dead of winter, running all the way here from his grandmother's house. It wasn't hard to guess why. Don't worry, I wasn't bullied. Silence. You arrived just in time, and everyone from class was there, so they wouldn't have let me be bullied. Still silence. If you're going to sulk like this, then I'm leaving. With that, I turned around and stormed off, but I hadn't taken more than a few steps when I slipped on the snow. As I was about to hit the ground, I instinctively grabbed Lin Su's arm. Seeing this, he also instinctively pulled me up. However, the force was mutual. He grabbed me but lost his own balance due to the slippery road. With a thump, both of us ended up falling into the snow together, him holding me in his arms. Snowflakes landed on the nape of my exposed neck, bringing a slight chill. Stunned, I looked at Lin Su, whom I had toppled onto the ground. Too close, I could clearly see through my glasses. The eyes behind his, in them, there was clarity, reflecting only my figure. Meeting my gaze, his eyelashes fluttered, and he suddenly spoke. "So, in your heart, am I still just the boy next door who grew up with you, huh?" His question caught me off guard, and I inadvertently breathed out, fogging up his face. I watched as his face turned instantly red. He pushed my head away and quickly stood up. Then, like lifting a large doll, he pulled me up from the snow, steadying me and brushing off the snowflakes from my body. "It's nothing." He finally spoke again, his voice hoarse. "Let's go back." The walk back was incredibly quiet. Lin Su's parents were at his grandmother's house for the new year, and his place was empty. But considering the close encounter we just had in the snow, and finally understanding the implication of his earlier words, my heart was still racing, and I felt too shy to invite him over to my place for the new year. The stairwell in the old building was dimly lit as I followed him upstairs. One step behind, he coughed loudly twice, and reluctantly, the motion sensor light in the stairwell came on. From the first to the third floor, a short distance was stretched into a seemingly intimate atmosphere due to the narrow stairwell and dim lighting, until he stopped at my door. "Go inside," he said softly. The next second, the voice-activated light had just gone out. In the darkness, a sudden surge of courage came over me from nowhere. I stepped forward, reached out swiftly, and snatched the thin-framed glasses from his nose before he could react, tiptoeing. And just like that, it was done. The next second, I turned around, unable to look at him any longer, stomped my foot hard, and only then did the voice-activated light come back on. With my back turned, I handed him his glasses, and it took him several seconds to reach out and take them. Then, I immediately pulled out my keys, opened the door, and slipped inside. My parents were watching a comedy show on the Spring Festival Gala, laughing joyfully. Hearing the door close, they only glanced up at me briefly. "You're back." Then their eyes were glued to the TV again. I leaned back against the door, my heart pounding wildly. Damn, I can't believe I was actually that bold. Thinking this, I stood still to calm down for a few seconds. It wasn't until I realized that there was no sound of the door closing behind me that I sensed something was off. I turned around and peered through the peephole at the door. Outside, Lin Su still stood there motionlessly. From my angle, I could vaguely see his ears and the side of his face flushed red. A long while passed, and only when the corridor's light went out again did he finally raise his hand to cover the side of his face I had just kissed. In the darkness, I heard him let out a frustrated "ah," and then he turned his head to look towards my door. Our eyes met, and even though I knew he couldn't see me, my heart skipped a beat. So, I immediately turned and ran back to my room, so swiftly that my mother exclaimed, "What are you doing? Acting like a thief?" Indeed, I was stealing hearts. I collapsed onto my bed, burying my face in the pillow. It took a long time, until my face turned red and I was almost out of breath, before I finally lifted my head. My heart was still racing. Before I could calm down, my phone in my pocket vibrated twice. Pulling it out, I saw a message from Lin Su. "Lin Su, I'm not mad at you," his awkward tone clearly responded to What I had said at the KTV entrance earlier, how adorable, even I didn't realize I was smiling as I was about to type a reply to his message when suddenly a whoosh sound came from outside. The next second, fireworks burst into the air. It was midnight. I sat up from the bed, about to go to the balcony to watch the fireworks, but then my phone vibrated twice again. Lin Su, Happy New Year, Yang Yang, Lin Su. Good night, with the sound of one firework after another exploding outside, along with Lin Su's timely blessing. Countless broadcast messages also arrived, but I couldn't be bothered to look anymore. I tossed the phone aside, flipped over, and buried myself back in the blankets. There was no need to go to the window to see the fireworks anymore, I thought, because the biggest firework of the night had already exploded in my heart. Winter turned to spring, and soon it was the second semester of my senior year. Less than half a year left until the college entrance exam. After the mock exam results were released, I made it into the top 3 of my grade for the first time. Mr. Fong, our homeroom teacher, was as thrilled as before, his eyes nearly disappearing as he smiled. Great, great, now getting into a university seems stable. Our class is going to produce 2 university scholars. After saying that, he joyfully went off to boast to the other teachers in the staff room. For a while, I became well known among the whole grade's teaching staff, and sometimes when Lin Su and I walked along, other students would come over, ostensibly to rub off some of the top students' luck. However, Mr. Fong's delight lasted only a few days. He shouted out loud, "See you at a university," with his words echoing in my ears. I felt an adrenaline rush during the entire exam. The next day, when the results were announced, I had performed exceptionally well, securing the position of the top science student in the city. That entire summer, I was overjoyed to the point of being disoriented. The day the university admission letter was delivered to my house, I stood downstairs and shouted Lin Su's name loudly, and the whole neighborhood could hear it. Amidst the curious neighbors peering out of their windows, a familiar figure finally appeared at a familiar third-floor window. Seeing me downstairs, his lips curved into a smile instantly, and I, raising the admission letter in my hand, waved my arms joyfully. I got into a university, I shouted happily. Now we can go to a university together. Hearing this, all the neighbors who had opened their windows to watch the excitement burst into laughter and congratulated me warmly. Among the sounds of congratulations, I saw Lin Su opening his mouth, and then, as if worried I couldn't hear him, he shouted out loud again. He raised his hands to his mouth in the shape of a megaphone. The next second, I heard his voice, cheerier and louder than I had ever heard before. I heard it, he announced, his eyes and brows curved with a smile. Happier than ever before, let's go to a university together. Yang Yang. That night, Lin Su, who rarely posted anything online, unexpectedly shared a post on his social circle. The caption was just 2 words: Lin Su, congratulations. The post included pictures of 2 admission letters placed side by side, the gold-embossed letters of a university's full name shimmering under the sunlight. Following his post, I also shared one. It was the same picture, but with a different 2-word caption: Song Yang, together happy. Just a few minutes after refreshing the page, comments started flooding in. Jiang Yuan, just a passerby. Is this a wedding scene? Zhang Yang, just a passerby. Is this a wedding scene? Class leader, just a passerby. Is this a wedding scene? With a smile, I also left a comment below. Song Yang, stop joking, he's still underage. Yes, because he skipped 2 grades during school. My childhood friend Lin Su was still underage. What a sweet trouble indeed. With a resigned smile, I put down my phone and looked up, only to meet Lin Su's slightly resentful gaze. Going to call me the boy next door again? No. I immediately erased my smile, my expression dead serious. He's a boyfriend in training for the future. Yep, the puppy was pleased. In September, the school season began. I packed my bags and set off for school with Lin Su on the high-speed train. Before leaving, Jiang Yuan reluctantly bid me farewell. I'll come to a university to hang out after military training is over. I responded with a smile. It's quite miraculous, really, because of my rebirth. The entire class was motivated to study harder. In the end, even Zhang Yang, who originally had no university to attend, got admitted to a University of Applied Sciences. The day the results came out, his wealthy father was so thrilled that he donated a library to the school. My deskmate Jiang Yuan also performed exceptionally in the exams, securing a place in Z University, which ranked just below a university. Since it was in the neighboring province, we planned to visit each other's schools. Liang Xiao, who took a break to study for exams at home, saw her grades plummet, finally only managing to secure a spot in a second-tier university. Her parents decided to have her repeat the year in another school. I wonder if she ever regretted spending her critical senior year indulging in a premature romance. However, all these were now unrelated to me. Looking at the grand entrance of a university, I couldn't help but remark, as expected of the top institution, even the gates look majestic. Come on, Yang, you and Xiao Su stand together, I'll take a photo, Lin Su's father suggested with a smile as he accompanied us for registration. So, we stood together in front of the gates of a university. As Lin Su's dad lifted the camera, he also suggested, okay, move closer, a bit more. Feeling a bit shy in front of the adults, I took small steps closer to Lin Su. Why don't you two make a V sign, or strike some pose? As he spoke, I was about to make a V sign with my hand, but suddenly felt a weight on my right shoulder. It was Lin Su, wrapping his arm around me. I instinctively looked up under the sunlight. The young man's lips curved into a smile, as joyful as the day the admission letters arrived when he was 5 years old. With a little backpack on his shoulders, we stood at the entrance of the kindergarten. The adults, smiling, urged us to come closer together, and he cautiously reached out to grab my braid, calling out to me in a tender voice, "Sister." At 18, I enrolled in his university. Standing at the entrance of the campus, he wrapped his arms around me, whispering in my ear with a smile, Yang, come closer." And so, a little closer, and then a little closer. Click, the moment was captured just like that. End of the main text. Extra, Everyday Romance 1. Song Yang and Lin Su officially became a couple in their sophomore year of university. For Lin Su's 18th birthday, Song Yang had been preparing a surprise for months and even asked Lin Su's roommate to keep it a secret, but in the end, it was Lin Su who took the initiative. Before entering the room, he paused, looking earnestly at Song Yang. Yang, I'm an adult now, I know." Song Yang nervously watched the door behind which her carefully prepared surprise for Lin Su lay, missing the fleeting nervousness in Lin Su's eyes. The next second, it was the familiar brief touch. Then, Lin Su turned and pushed the door open. The roommate, who had been hiding behind the door, immediately set off the party poppers. Amidst the loud bangs, colorful ribbons flew through the air, and everyone shouted birthday wishes to Lin Su. Only Song Yang, still standing at the doorway, was stunned, her hands covering her mouth, still feeling the lingering warmth of Lin Su's lips. Always pulling this stunt, but still, it was thrilling too. In her senior year, Song Yang went on an internship out of town. The two of them experienced a long-distance relationship for 6 months. It seemed that they had never been apart for such a long time since childhood, so when Song Yang received a call from Lin Su late at night, she thought he just missed her. Yang, this math problem is so hard, I can't solve it." The voice on the other end sounded aggrieved, catching Song Yang off guard. When Song Yang didn't respond, he whispered again, "But, for the sake of going to school with you, I'll work hard." It turned out his skipping grades was for this reason. Song Yang found it amusing. After coaxing him to sleep, she then saw a message from Lin Su's roommate sent half an hour ago. Lin Su's roommate, little sister-in-law, today another roommate had a birthday, and everyone had a bit to drink. Lin Su got drunk and kept calling out for his sister. "I'm sure he meant you." Lin Su's roommate, when others get drunk, they either fall asleep or act crazy. But this guy kept shouting about going to school with his sister while solving a whole set of calculus problems. Lin Su's roommate, this is terrifying. Is this what they call a pure love warrior? Song Yang. The next morning, when Lin Su woke up and saw the completed calculus problems, he pondered for a moment and then turned to ask his roommate, "Did you guys sneakily finish my calculus problems while I was asleep?" Roommate, I must be crazy to do your homework for you. 3. After their undergraduate studies, Lin Su and Song Yang both continued their research at the same university. Good news, Jiang Yuan also passed the graduate entrance exams and joined them. Bad news, Lin Su now had a little mother-in-law competing for his attention. Fortunately, the little mother-in-law fell for his roommate at first sight, and with Song Yang's matchmaking, the two soon started dating. Thus, their trio's outings turned into double dates. Song Yang often reflected that having such a good friend and partner made her life complete. The next second, while the two across from them were distracted, Lin Su quickly kissed her and then seriously asked, "If she and I both fell into the water, who would you save first?" Song Yang, I remember you can swim. For Lin Su had a dream. In the dream, Song Yang died in their freshman year. When found, her body had been so mangled by wild animals that it was unrecognizable. but he still knew it was her instantly. The necklace around her neck was the gift he gave her for her 16th birthday. He woke up crying from the dream, startling Song Yang beside him. "What's wrong?" She leaned over to kiss his face. The next second, she was enveloped in his embrace. He clung to her like a scared puppy, seeking comfort and reassurance. He buried his head in her chest. Finally, under Song Yang's persistent questioning, he quietly shared the dream he had. Unexpectedly, after listening, Song Yang suddenly asked him, "What if it were true? What if I really were killed by someone? What would you do then?" She emphasized the word if, highlighting that it was just a hypothetical scenario. He looked up, meeting Song Yang's curious gaze. He knew he had to answer this question without hesitation. He said, "Then I would blow them up." Song Yang was initially silent, then she agreed, "Good idea." From that day on, to maintain world peace, Song Yang started to value her life even more.